Chapter 267. Unlin was astonished upon hearing this, and 10,000 mythological beasts were howling in his heart. My God! Chang-yi wants to date someone? This is breaking news. This is breaking news that will shock the entire kingdom of the 9 states. He then realized a very serious problem and transmitted his voice to Unlin. Did she say whether she's dating a man or a woman? That's right, this was the most important question. Unlin felt like this question was even more important than the event itself. Su Qianyun blinked in bewilderment, as if wondering why Unlin would ask such a redundant question. However, she still replied with a serious expression, "Of course it's a man. If she's looking for a woman, she can just look for me." Gasp! Unlin drew a sharp intake of breath. Su Qianyun's words contained far too much information, and he needed some time to process them. Why did Su Qianyun say, "If she's looking for a woman, she can just look for me," in such a natural manner? The meaning behind this was truly thought-provoking. Then, Chang-yi really did want to find a man to fall in love with. This was truly earth-shattering. If this news were to spread to the celestial court, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Right at this moment, Chang-yi turned her gaze toward Unlin. Her gaze was as tender as water, and Unlin shuddered at the sight of it. "Unlin, accompany me for a walk?" A cold voice sounded again, and Unlin was like a stone statue upon hearing this. Su Qianyun's eyes widened as she looked at Chang-yi, then at Unlin. She naturally knew what this sentence entailed, and it was exactly because of this that she was in complete disbelief. As for you two, she had clearly also asked Su Qianyun about the situation. After learning the truth, her expression was exactly the same as Unlin's, and she stood rooted to the spot, as if she had been scared out of her wits. What kind of joke was this? Chang-yi, who had never been intimate with a man, wanted to date a man? Also, what did he mean by asking Unlin to accompany him? Could it be that he wanted to date a spirit-nurturing stage immortal? If word of this got out, the immortals of the celestial court would probably vomit blood out of anger. Chang'e stood up from her chair and walked towards Unlin with light step. Her every move was natural, like the most beautiful scenery in the world, making people unable to take their eyes off her. Seeing Unlin standing there in a daze, she couldn't help but feel a little funny. "There's no need to be so nervous, right?" Although her voice was still cold, there was a hint of intimacy in it, just like when she was talking to Su Qianyun. Unlin recovered from his shock, and looked at the outrageously beautiful fairy in front of him in amazement. As for Chang'e, he could actually understand it. Chang'e put away her hipster disease. It must be because she wanted to communicate with Unlin normally. With this in mind, Unlin was once again overwhelmed by the favor. "Come on, accompany me to the osmanthus garden." Chang'e waved her sleeve and pulled Unlin along, causing the stars to shift. In the next second, the two of them appeared in a forest of osmanthus trees. Is this spatial teleportation? Unlin's pupils contracted slightly. This was the first time he had seen a mighty figure who could use spatial teleportation in such a casual manner. When Return to Void stage mighty figures wanted to teleport, they usually had to tear open a rift in space before they could do so. For someone who had not reached the pinnacle of the Tao of space, it was impossible for Chang'e to do something like this with just a casual wave of her sleeve, and he didn't even feel anything from it. Chang'e closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly under the moonlight like dancing butterflies. It smells so good. The osmanthus flowers are in full bloom right now. She smiled faintly and pulled Unlin along for a stroll in the garden. Unlin blushed slightly as he felt the warmth and softness of Chang'e's hand. "Unlin, Xiao Yu has gained over 1/2 kilogram in the past year after eating the snacks you've given her. In the past, she was someone who prioritized her figure over delicious food. Who would have thought that she would also gain weight from your snacks?" Unlin faltered slightly upon hearing this before a smile appeared on his face. "Hee, you can bring Xiao Yu to my place next time. I'll walk her around for you." "Can I really?" She stays at the Moon Palace with me every day and never exercises. It's not a bad idea to bring her to the university to hang out with you. Of course, but you have to keep her jade pestle in check first. I'm very scared of that thing. Haha, Xiao Yu has mentioned you in the past. She said that you're too dumb and that you need to be taught a lesson to become smarter. And Lin. Thus, the two of them strolled through the moon forest and chatted casually. The feeling that Chang'e gave him was no longer that of the high and mighty Moon Palace mistress. Instead, she was more like a gentle, natural, and beautiful big sister next door. A gentle breeze blew past, and Chang'e's hair danced in the wind like silk. The faint fragrance of her hair combined with the fragrance of osmanthus flowers to create a particularly intoxicating combination. She raised a hand, and a white flower petal drifted down onto her palm. Chang'e looked at the petals glowing with moonlight and smiled. Now is the time when the osmanthus flowers are at their most abundant. Pluck these osmanthus flowers, whether it's brewing tea or making osmanthus mooncakes, they'll both be excellent. And Lin's interest was immediately piqued upon hearing this. You know how to make osmanthus mooncakes? Chang'e raised her chin slightly with a smug expression. Of course. My mooncakes are the best in the world. Are you interested, Lin? I'll make a few osmanthus mooncakes for you some other day. Sure. And Lin immediately agreed. Chang'e was the Moon Palace mistress, so the mooncakes made by her might actually be mooncakes. Just the name alone was enough to scare a lot of people to death. He could even brag to others about mooncakes. You guys make your mooncakes by looking at the moon, but my mooncakes are made by the goddess above the moon. The woman couldn't help but chuckle lightly at Lin's straightforward reply. He probably didn't know just how much of an advantage he was taking. One had to realize that mooncakes made by Chang'e were priceless items in the celestial court, and each mooncake was worth at least an immortal pill. However, Chang'e wasn't going to tell Lin about this. It was rare for her to meet such a shameless person, and she wanted to spend some more time with him. All of the immortals in the celestial court looked at her with glowing eyes. Their scorching gazes made her completely lose interest in interacting with them. As for this spirit-nurturing stage cultivator beside her, although he was also attracted by her beauty when they first met, he quickly became more at ease. It was as if he had forgotten their identities as they conversed normally and strolled along in a harmonious manner. It's very easy to interact with you. I don't know if this is what people on Earth call dating, but to be honest, I don't dislike this feeling. A cold voice drifted into his ears like a faint fragrance. Lin joked upon hearing this. You don't dislike it, so you like it? A faint smile appeared on Chang'e's face as she looked at the man beside her. Her smile made everything pale in comparison, and even Lin's heart skipped a beat. Lin drew a sharp intake of breath and only came to his senses after a long while. Chang'e's beauty combined with her smile was simply too alluring. He was almost killed by her beauty. There's a study on Earth that claims that men can extend their lifespans by looking at beautiful women. After seeing your smile just then, I feel like I'm going to live forever. Lin exclaimed in amazement. Did you smear osmanthus nectar on your mouth? How shameless! Although this was what Chang'e said, for some reason, she didn't feel the slightest bit offended by this kind of compliment. She released Lin's hand and narrowed her eyes at Lin. The game of dating is over. You're the first man to date me, and you might also be the last. You should be proud. Lin nodded earnestly, clearly agreeing with Chang'e's words. Then can I brag about this to my friends? This was a date with the most beautiful woman in the celestial court, and they even held hands. He could brag about this for 100 years. Chang'e chuckled coldly. You can tell them, but don't blame me for not warning you. If you really do say this, more than half of the people in the celestial court will instantly become your rival in love. Lin was momentarily dazed upon hearing this. Then, a chill ran down his spine. What she said was very reasonable. If he still wanted to stay in the celestial court, this matter must not be known. Although I don't hate being with you, it's still more exciting and blissful to be with Susu. Chang'e looked melancholic. It seems like I'm hopeless, and Lin's mouth twitched. He couldn't respond to this, and he didn't dare to. He had previously guessed that Chang'e had a motive for suddenly falling in love. Perhaps she wanted to correct her sexual orientation, or perhaps she wanted to experience the feeling of heterosexual love. Now it seemed that Chang'e's motive was the former, but unfortunately she failed.
Oh right, do you know why I paid such a high price to save you?
Chang'e suddenly changed the topic and talked about the question that Enlin was most concerned about. This matter had been perplexing Enlin for a long time. He had a feeling that this matter was definitely not simple. Enlin's mind was instantly lifted, and he asked excitedly, "Why?" Chapter 268. A mysterious smile appeared on Chang'e's face. On that day, your blood essence had completely dissipated, and you were transported into the soul-sealing ice coffin. Even Shi the Enlightened from the Celestial Court was powerless to save you. After that, Su Qianyun came to the Moon Palace and begged me to save your life. However, she begged me to no avail, so I decided to refine an ultimate creation pill and infused it with the true power of the moon to save you. This is the truth that you know. However, did you know that there was someone who came to see me even before Su Qianyun? It was also because of his arrival that I decided to pay such a heavy price to save you, a little cultivator whom I had never met before. Enlin immediately knew that this was the main point. The real reason why Chang'e saved him was because of another person? Who is it? Enlin's eyes lit up, and his heart thumped in his chest. He was extremely excited. Chang'e's beautiful eyes were clear and bright. She looked at the man beside her and said indifferently, "To be able to make me pay such a heavy price to save you without any hesitation, even the celestial Dharch would not be able to do so. Guess who else? Even the celestial Dharch would not be able to do this?" Enlin was rooted to the spot, and his mind was in complete disarray. He had initially thought that it would either be the principal or the mysterious true God who had given him the system. However, Chang'e said that even the celestial Dharch would not be able to do this. The celestial Dharch was already the ruler of the kingdom of the 9 states, the most powerful true God. Wouldn't it be ridiculous for someone to be more powerful than him? Enlin pointed up at the sky with a shocked expression. "Did the heavens send you here to save me?" Chang'e's aura was instantly shattered, and her slender body swayed like a lotus flower as she chuckled lightly. "Please, I'm talking about something very serious. Can you be a little more serious?" Enlin wore a bitter expression. "But I really don't know who it is." Chang'e looked at Enlin's expression, which did not appear to be fake. A sense of doubt welled up in her heart. Could it be that he really didn't know who that person was? Or could it be that the person did not reveal his identity to him and was only secretly taking care of him? She felt that Enlin might really not know, so she directly said, "The person who came to the Moon Palace to ask me to save you is called Daolord Luya." "Daolord Luya? Who is he?" Enlin blinked his eyes in confusion. Chang'e's chest constricted upon seeing this. "Did you go to Tai Chu Continent history class for nothing?" Enlin shook his head and said confidently, "This course is an elective. I'm not interested in history, so I didn't choose it. But if it's really a famous senior, I should have heard of his name before." Chang'e heaved a faint sigh. Compared to the other 3 on the Tai Chu continent, he really isn't all that renowned. He hasn't established his own sect, and he has only transcended beyond the 3 realms to roam the world. You've heard of Sakyamuni Buddha, right? Enlin immediately nodded upon hearing this. He was Buddha Tathagata, the paragon of the Buddhist kingdom and a mighty figure on par with the celestial Dharch. How could he not have heard of him? Sakyamuni Buddha's master is Patriarch Hun Kuan. Patriarch Hun Kuan, Daolord Luya, Her Majesty Nuwa, and Patriarch Hong Jun are known as the 4 gods of creation on the continent. Do you know what kind of being Downlord Luya is now? Chang-yi looked at Enlin with a hint of a smile on her face. Enlin was dumbstruck upon hearing this. It was as if he was listening to a heavenly book. Downlord Luya? God of creation? Holy F***ck. This was a being that was millions of times more terrifying than Long Outian and Zhao Ritian. When did he become associated with such a being? Was he the main character in the story? Did he possess some kind of unfathomable ability? Did this world need him to save it? Enlin's mind raced as he stood rooted to the spot like a statue. The impact of this was far too great. A chilly night breeze blew past, and the shadows of the trees danced in the wind. A crystalline white petal landed on Enlin's head, but he didn't notice it in the slightest. Chang-yi didn't disturb him, and allowed him to digest this on his own. After what seemed like an eternity, Enlin finally came to his senses. Ahem. Then do I still have to pay you back for helping me refine the immortal pill? Chang-yi, she slapped her forehead in exasperation. Never would she have thought that this would be the first thing Enlin would say after digesting this information for so long. Did Downlord Luya tell you that I'm supremely talented and that I need to save the world or something like that? No. Chang-yi replied angrily. Also, since you've asked for the immortal pill, don't go back on your word. I won't scam you, I'll only charge you for the cost, 12 million spirit stones. Enlin nodded sheepishly. At the same time, he was also a little disappointed. So he wasn't the savior of the world, then. Even more questions surfaced in his mind. He couldn't help but ask, what does Downlord Luya look like? What's his relationship with me? Why did he save me? Faced with a series of questions, Chang-yi was a little dispirited. Downlord Luya is very good-looking. As for the rest, I don't know either. You can ask him yourself. Enlin was stunned upon hearing this. Downlord Luya wasn't his beast pet. He didn't even know where he was, so why would he ask? As for saying that Downlord Luya was very good-looking, then that old grandpa on Earth, who gave him the system, could be eliminated. If he was very good-looking, then there was no way he would transform himself into an old man when he went to save someone. Wouldn't that be a waste of his looks? Enlin's heart gradually calmed down. A super mighty figure of this level was far too far away for him. Even if there was some kind of connection between them, he didn't have the power to find the answer right now. In his current situation, it was enough to know that he had a powerful backer who cared about him. This was a backer who was even more badass than the Celestial Dharch. He handed over the 12 million spirit stones in his storage ring to Chang-yi. After repaying his debt, Enlin felt a sense of relief wash over him. He was the type of honest man who would feel uncomfortable whenever he was in debt, so this was probably a bad habit that he couldn't change. There were only 2,800,000 spirit stones left in his storage ring. He had gone from super tycoon to super tycoon, so his wealth had dropped by an entire level. This wasn't a pity. After all, he still had to buy a big present for Su Xiaolan. If he gave Su Xiaolan money directly, she definitely wouldn't accept it, so he could only express his sincerity through gift. Chang-yi unleashed her spatial teleportation, and the two of them returned to the Moon Palace. Su Qianyun and Yu Tu stared blankly at the two of them, as if they were witnessing something miraculous. Chang-yi's melancholy had already disappeared, and she made her way over to Su Qianyun with a faint smile on her face. What's with that expression? There's nothing going on between me and Enlin. But big sister, you're holding hands with him. Su Qianyun's chest rose and fell as a faint blush appeared on her face, as if she had just said something very embarrassing. Silly Su Qianyun. Chang-yi flicked Su Qianyun's forehead with a slender finger. Didn't I tell you that holding hands won't get pregnant? Only kissing will. Su Qianyun's blush deepened upon hearing this, and her face was like an adorable apple. Then you didn't kiss, did you? Chang-yi shook her head with a serious expression. No, I only kissed Su Qianyun. Enlin stood off to the side and chose to ignore her. He really wanted to retort, but he knew that if he were to say anything now, he would definitely be screwed. You two stood off to the side in silence. She had already grown accustomed to this, and she stared at Lin with her big, round eyes, as if she were contemplating something. Lin, Chong, he doesn't care if you know about this, but I hope you won't tell anyone, a delicate female voice suddenly sounded. Lin knew what you two was talking about, and he nodded with a solemn expression. Don't worry, I'll definitely keep my mouth shut. After chatting for a while longer, Lin and Su Qianyun left the Moon Palace on his dog. The month-long vacation was upon them again. Chapter 269. Lin returned to his living quarters and began tempering his core. The beast core within his body was already glowing brighter and brighter, resembling a small golden sun in his sea of vital energy. The energy imbued within the beast core was already extremely abundant and had reached a certain threshold. As long as he could break through this threshold, he would be able to progress to the next rank. He was able to progress to the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage within a short span of a year, and this was all thanks to the divine liquid creation technique and the wings of true fire, which had greatly refined his body and allowed his sea of vital energy to become even more vast. With a solid foundation, he would be able to progress even faster. The next day, Lin went to Do Shui Palace and used Emperor Ziwei's immortal pill invitation to ask Yi Shi the Enlightened to refine a 5-elemental essence destruction immortal pill. This was a 6th-grade immortal pill that could condense the power of the 5 elements in a cultivator. Lin cultivated the evergreen technique, the wings of true fire, the divine liquid creation technique, and the earth lotus supreme skill, all of which were 5-elemental cultivation method. He felt like using the 5-elemental essence destruction pill to condense the power of the 5 elements would be an opportunity for him to progress to the next rank. Thus, he swallowed the immortal pill right in front of Yi Shi. This was an experiment. Even if he couldn't make a breakthrough, it would still be worth it if he could further condense the power of the 5 elements. Soon, he seemed to have sensed the power of the immortal pill, and his blood began to boil. A blue liquid covered his skin, and a lotus flower imbued with the power of the earth appeared on his glabella. Crimson wings of fire also appeared around his body. The green halo appeared above his head again, and a powerful life force burst forth. His 4 cultivation methods glowed with vigor. Yi Shi's eyes widened and his breathing accelerated. It's here again. This is the fundamental transformation of the immortal pill. Boom! Vital energy suddenly surged in the sky. Immediately afterward, a huge amount of vital energy converged above Lin's head like a massive tidal wave. The cyclone was over 1,000 feet in length, and it covered half the sky, creating a massive commotion. In the end, the vital energy surged into Lin's body like a dragon bowing its head, helping him complete some sort of transformation. Yi Shi collapsed to the ground in shock, and his mouth gaped open. This is a true pill-consuming mighty figure. Not only does eating an immortal pill trigger a fundamental transformation within one's body, it can also help one break through to the next rank. How terrifying is this? The storm of vitality gradually subsided. Lin stood up. His eyes were bright as he felt the leap in his strength. From this day forth, he was a spirit-nurturing intermediate stage cultivator. Congratulations to fellow Taoist Lin for successfully breaking through. Yi Shi immediately came over to offer his congratulations. He looked at Lin as if he were looking at an idol. This is all thanks to the immortal pill refined by Senior Yi Shi. Lin also joined his fists in a grateful salute toward Yi Shi. Not at all, not at all. It's clearly fellow Taoist's pill-swallowing posture that no one can match, ahem. I was wondering if Mr. Lin could teach me how to consume immortal pills. Yi Shi asked sheepishly. Taking the initiative to ask others how to take pills was actually a very rude thing to do, especially when Lin's method of taking pills might be combined with some unique secret method. This was a cultivator's heritage, and generally, it would not be disclosed to outsiders. However, Unlin's pill-swallowing technique was simply too astonishing, and she was unable to repress his urge. "Don't worry, I'll definitely reward you to your satisfaction," she continued as if he was afraid that Unlin would refuse. Unlin scratched his head with a perplexed expression. "What the hell is this? Isn't taking pills just swallowing them and then digesting them? It's like someone suddenly coming over and asking you to teach them how to eat. F***ck. Even a 3-year-old knows how to eat, and you want me to teach you how to eat? Are you retarded?" She saw the perplexed expression on Unlin's face and knew that he had no intention of continuing the conversation, so he knew that he had no chance. It was normal that Unlin didn't want to disclose his unique secret method. After a brief moment of disappointment, she quickly regained his composure. Even if Unlin didn't tell him, he would still rely on his own willpower to figure out the method of taking immortal pills. This was his pride as the eldest disciple of Lord Lotsu, and there was nothing that could stump him. Unlin saw Ishi's sudden disappointment, then excitement, then determination, and immediately stood up to leave. In the sky, he looked toward his system nervously. The system's "cultivate hard and improve every day" had left a deep impression on him. Thankfully, he had encountered many miraculous encounters recently and was able to break through to spirit-nurturing intermediate stage within a year. Now that his cultivation base had changed, the requirements for the system's cultivation base tab should also change. Breakthrough to spirit-nurturing final stage, condition. Slay an Emperor-level sea monster with your own hands. Unlin's expression faltered. This, Emperor-level sea monsters were the same as Emperor-level monsters in the mortal world. They could only be referred to as Emperors after reaching soul formation stage. As for sea monsters, they could be found in both the West Sea and the East Sea. As long as he searched diligently, he would eventually be able to find one. The essence of this mission was to allow him to battle above his rank. If Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 pummeled the sea monster to the brink of death, then he would land the killing blow. Under these circumstances, the system would also count as slaying the sea monster with your own hands, so this mission wouldn't be too difficult. Unlin definitely wouldn't reject a system mission that could help him increase his cultivation base. Furthermore, this mission had a certain degree of feasibility. After all, even prodigies would have to spend several years to achieve a breakthrough if they didn't have a few miraculous encounters. Unlin didn't want to waste so much time. If he did, he wouldn't be able to catch up to Su Xiaolan. In that case, "I'll go to the East Sea to kill sea monsters this holiday." He made up his mind and left without delay. He would take his beast pets Xiao Chou and Dabai and set off at dawn. Unlin suddenly felt like something was missing after formulating his plan. Why do I feel like I've forgotten someone? He furrowed his brows. Take his beast pets, Xiao Chou and Dabai. Holy F***ck. Where's my Xiaohong? Unlin's body trembled as he yelled. He suddenly recalled that little red flower, and his eyes widened in shock. Dabai also came to a realization upon hearing Unlin's yell. Woof. I was wondering why I felt like something was missing recently. It turns out that big sister Hong has disappeared. She's still hiding in Su Xiaolan's arms and hasn't come back yet. Unlin grimaced. It seems like she hasn't come out since she hid in Su Xiaolan's arms at the Winter Dragon Tomb. It's been a few days and we've forgotten about her. Big Sister Hong's presence is becoming more and more inconspicuous. She's probably been taken to the Vermilion Bird sect by Su Xiaolan already. Xiao Chou shook his head in resignation. Unlin slapped his forehead and heaved a forlorn sigh. Forget about her. Let her photosynthesize at the Vermilion Bird sect. Time is of the essence, we have to set off for the East Sea now. Dabai stuck out his tongue. Aren't you going to find a few more teammates? Woof. Xiaolan has to go back to the sect to consolidate Xin Yin's inheritance. Su Qianyun has to accompany Chang Yi, and Big Brother Ching has to go into seclusion at the 10,000 Spirits Immortal Sect. He won't come out until he breaks through to the spirit-nurturing final stage. Lin also sighed with emotion at the mention of Xianyuan Qing. There were now 2 spirit-nurturing final stage cultivators in their class. Su Qianyun lived up to her nickname of Dao Fanatic. She was the fastest student in their class to reach the spirit-nurturing final stage. Su Xiaolan accompanied Lin on a trip to the Winter Dragon Tomb, where she encountered a series of miraculous encounters and finally progressed to the spirit-nurturing final stage. When Xianyuan Qing heard this news, he felt like he was going to explode. He was a student with a letter of recommendation from a true god. To have his cultivation base surpassed by 2 of his classmates in a row was a massive blow to his confidence. Hence, Lin wasn't surprised that Xianyuan Qing would make such a decision. Instead, he felt like this was the Big Brother Qing he knew. It's just an Emperor-level sea monster, it's more than enough for us to go. Lin wore a confident expression. How could he be afraid of a soul formation stage sea monster? Let's go, Dabai Xiaoqiu, let's go to the East Sea. Chapter 270. The Kingdom of the 9 States and the East Sea were separated by the 100-tribe territory. That territory was much larger than the Kingdom of the 9 States and was home to over 100 tribes of all sizes. Lin and the others definitely wouldn't fly to the East Sea. That was completely unrealistic and would only tire Dabai to death. Their only advantage was money, so they had to use a few long-distance teleportation spell formations to successfully arrive at the coast of the East Sea. Wow! Is this the East Sea? I can't see the end of it. Lin stood on the beach and sighed with emotion as he looked at the sea and sky before him. Blue, clear, boundless, and magnificent. This was his first impression of the East Sea. The place they were currently at belonged to the territory of the Pearl Kingdom. The Pearl Kingdom was ruled by the Pearl Tribe. They were one of the 100 tribes, and their appearances were very interesting. Their bodies were white with a hint of yellow, and they had human-like hands and feet. However, they were very short, and their bodies were also round. From afar, they looked like a group of pearls that had become spirits, walking on the flat ground. Mr. Lin, this is the region of the sea closest to the 7-demon realm. A large pearl pointed forward with a solemn expression on her round face. Her name was Chi-Chi, and she was a high-class tour guide that Lin had hired for 10,000 spirit stones. She was a renowned beauty in the nearby Bolan city. She had the roundest, smoothest, and purest white body. She was indeed very pleasing to the eye. Lin nodded. The 7-demon realm was a very famous region of the East Sea. Powerful sea monsters often appeared and attacked nearby ships. Some bloodthirsty sea monsters would even land on land and slaughter the living beings along the coast. Legend had it that there were 7 great demon monsters ruling over this region of the sea. Hence, this region of the sea was also known as the 7-demon realm. If it weren't for the fact that Lin had offered a high price and was quite powerful, Chi-Chi wouldn't have taken the risk to bring them here. Alright, let's go back and prepare. We'll set sail tomorrow. Lin's eyes were filled with excitement. The 7 warlords of the sea are nothing. I'll crush them one by one. I'm going to become the Pirate King. Everyone couldn't understand Lin's inexplicable words, but they knew that they would be going out to sea tomorrow. The streets of Billowing Wave City were filled with round white pearls, and occasionally, 1 or 2 human figures could be seen. These humans were most likely cultivators from the Kingdom of the 9 States who had come here to train. Judging from their height, they stood out from the rest of the group, and it was quite common for them to accidentally bump into the doorframe of a restaurant. As a high-level tour guide, Chi-Chi's tour arrangements were comprehensive. Lin and the others toured around with her, and it was quite a relaxing experience. In the evening, Chi-Chi even found a special restaurant and ordered a table full of seafood. There were shrimp, crabs, shellfish, fish, and birds. Lin, Dabai, and the clown were so engrossed in eating that they forgot everything else. In terms of taste, the seafood here was the best they had ever eaten. After eating to their heart's content, everyone checked into an inn that catered to outsiders. 3 large merchant ships have been prepared. The top level of the merchant ships will be loaded with some goods, as well as a lot of fragrant food that will attract sea monsters. Chi-Chi sat in front of Lin and reported the preparations for their trip to sea. The ocean was extremely vast, and diving into the ocean to find emperor-level sea monsters was like looking for a needle in a haystack. The best way was to get them to come looking for them, and the 3 merchant ships were the best bait. Just as everyone was chatting in the room, the ground began to tremor lightly. Boom! An explosion erupted in the distance. It sounded like a violent collision. And Lin's expression shifted and he stood up. Chi-Chi also felt something. She immediately opened the window and looked towards the direction of the city gate. Then, she saw the rising flames and thick smoke. Her face turned slightly dark and she exclaimed, "It's the sea monsters. They're attacking the city." "The sea monsters are attacking the city?" Lin's, Debai's, and Xiao Chao's eyes lit up at the same time. They were just thinking of seducing them, but they came to them of their own volition. Lin and the others were not going to let this opportunity slip by. "Let's go. Let's go meet the sea monsters of the East Sea." Lin flew into the sky excitedly on dogback toward the city gate. "Sea monsters are adept at using poison, be careful." Chi-Chi had not reached the spirit-nurturing stage yet and was unable to fly, so she could only shout a warning through the window. "Don't worry." Lin flew toward the city gate without looking back. These sea monsters were not a threat to him. The evergreen technique had the ability to nullify all poisons. Perhaps only the poison of the monster emperor could strike fear into his heart. At this moment, smoke rose up from the city gate. Pearls glowed under the moonlight as they unleashed attack spells on the city wall, forming a long defensive line of cannons. "General Pearl King, there are too many of them. The city is going to fall at this rate." One of the Pearl soldiers yelled. "Hold on. I've already requested reinforcements from Dalang City. They'll be here soon." A large and round Pearl soldier spoke. There was a layer of golden keratin armor on his skin, making him appear particularly eye-catching. Just as he was speaking, a huge tentacle suddenly extended to the top of the city wall before sweeping downward with unstoppable force. Countless Pearl soldiers wailed in anguish as they were knocked off the city wall. "Ha ha ha ha, Pearl King, come out and die." A massive octopus over 100 feet tall appeared on the city wall and roared in an arrogant manner. Boom! Boom! Rumble! A black figure crashed relentlessly into the city gate, but the Pearl soldiers were unable to inflict any damage to it. Deep Sea Octopus King, Dark Water Turtle. The Pearl King's expression darkened as he looked at the 2 gargantuan creatures attacking the city. "Me too." At this moment, a semi-transparent creature with lightning crackling all over its body yelled from among the sea monsters, "Pearl King, stop your futile struggle. The Crimson Demonic Emperor only wants 10,000 Pearl soldiers as sacrifices. If you open the city gate, we promise we won't start a massacre. Otherwise, we'll slaughter everyone in the city." The Pearl King's body swayed at the sight of the creature bathed in lightning. "Thousand Lightning Jellyfish King. Looks like the Crimson Demonic Emperor is dead set on destroying Bolan City." The Pearl King's cultivation base was only at the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage, about the same as the Deep Sea Octopus King and the Dark Water Turtle King. However, the Thousand Lightning Jellyfish King was at the spirit-nurturing pinnacle stage. If it really went all out, it might be able to tear the Pearl King off the city gate. "I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. Either you open the city gate and we leave after capturing 10,000 Pearl soldiers, or you slaughter everyone in the city." The Jellyfish King's voice was like a clap of thunder, and it was so loud that it could even travel into Bolan City. The residents of Billowing Wave City were scared out of their wit. 3 great demon kings had gathered together to attack the city, so how could a single Pearl King stand a chance? The Jellyfish King's countdown had already begun, and all the residents of the city fled for their lives. From a bird's-eye view, one could see a pile of pearls rolling around on the ground, creating an extremely chaotic spectacle. Time's up. Looks like you prefer to be slaughtered in the city, Pearl King. The Jellyfish King cackled sinisterly. On the city wall, the Pearl soldiers were unleashing spell techniques to bombard the sea monster army down below. Boom, boom, boom. The Dark Water Turtle King rammed the city gate with even greater force, and spiderwebs had already appeared on the city gate. Pearl King, the spell formation can't hold on much longer. The city gate is about to be breached. A Pearl soldier yelled. A suicidal expression appeared on the Pearl King's face as it transformed into a streak of white light and pounced toward the Dark Water Turtle King. Hee, I was waiting for you to strike. The Jellyfish King cackled as it transformed into a dazzling bolt of lightning and charged toward the white streak of light. Boom! The two of them collided, and a figure was knocked back amid an explosion of lightning. The white figure crashed heavily into the city wall, causing the thick wall to cave in. Pearl King. The soldiers on the city wall instantly panicked upon seeing this. The figure that had been knocked back was none other than the most powerful being among them, the Pearl King. Expressions of despair appeared on the faces of all the soldiers. Even the Pearl King was unable to withstand a single attack from this jellyfish. Was Bolan's city really going to fall? Another earth-shattering boom erupted as the Dark Water Turtle King smashed a massive hole into the city gate. The sea monster army cheered loudly as they swarmed into the city through the hole. Ha ha! None of the Pearl soldiers in the city will escape. The Lightning Jellyfish King charged toward the city wall in a heroic manner, preparing to slay all of the soldiers defending the city. Have you asked for my permission before trying to bully the adorable Pearl soldiers? A cold voice suddenly sounded. A massive golden fist of lightning fell from the sky before crashing heavily into the Jellyfish King's body, lighting up the entire sky. Boom! The invincible Jellyfish King was smashed into the ground by the golden fist of lightning, and a terrifying explosion of energy swept through the surroundings, tearing apart several dozen sea monsters nearby. In the sky above, a mighty figure riding a white dog appeared before the eyes of all the Pearl soldiers like a savior. Unlin had made his entrance. Chapter 271. A bolt of lightning flashed through the cloud of dust, and blue blood flowed from its body. It was the Jellyfish King that had been punched by Unlin. You're a human cultivator? The Jellyfish King was astonished. That's right. Unlin drew his evil-slaying sword as he rode atop his huge white dog. His sword intent surged through the air as if he were a peerless sword immortal. This is a matter between the sea monsters and the Pearl tribe. Why are you sticking your nose into this? If you disrupt the Crimson Demonic Emperor's plan, you will face the most vicious retaliation from the sea monsters. I'll give you a chance now, leave this place. The Jellyfish King knew that Unlin wasn't an ordinary person, so it used its big brother to try and get him to stop. The Crimson Demonic Emperor is an emperor-level sea monster? Unlin's eyes lit up. The Jellyfish King clasped its blue tentacles behind its back. Of course. It's not something you can mess with. Unlin chuckled. Then I can't let you go. The Jellyfish King was slightly taken aback by Unlin's reply. Xiao Cho, go guard the gate. Unlin had already leaped away from Dabai. White wings of wind spread open on his back, and a white light revolved around his sword. Xiao Cho landed in front of the city gate like a fiend celestial. He unleashed his domain, and a sea of flames within a radius of 100 feet turned all the sea monsters charging toward the city gate into ashes. The Pearl soldiers were all dumbstruck by Xiao Cho's attack. This is a God Realm domain. Anyone with a God Realm domain was a powerful being in the Pearl tribe. Who would have thought that it was that human cultivator's beast pet? Just as they were in shock, an even more shocking scene unfolded. The most powerful being in the sea monster army, the Jellyfish King, was sliced into several dozen pieces in the blink of an eye by Enlin, who had transformed into a streak of white light. This! The Pearl King stared blankly at the Jellyfish King, who had been sliced into pieces. At the city gate, the Blackwater Black Tortoise's shell was also smashed by the Monkey's Club. Torrential black flames burned hundreds of sea demons into ashes. This endless black flame domain was the absolute barrier of Bolon City. Enlin landed on the ground and a golden ripple spread out. All of the sea demons in the surrounding 1,000 feet foamed at the mouth and fainted on the ground. Divine Might technique. The suppression of his cultivation allowed Enlin to unleash the full potential of his godly might art. Enlin continued onward as if he were the ruler of the world, and countless sea monsters fainted before him. The sea urchin warriors, who were the weakest among them, exploded and died under the impact of the powerful king's might. The final spirit-nurturing stage sea monster, the deep-sea octopus king, was scared out of its wits. After 5 of its tentacles had been torn off by Dubai, it frantically tried to escape into the sea. Unexpectedly, a 10-meter-tall black brick fell from the sky and firmly pressed down on the ground. "Don't kill me, you can't kill me. If you kill me, the Crimson Demonic Emperor will never forgive you," the deep-sea octopus king yelled. During this time, its remaining tentacles were torn off by Dubai and blood gushed forth from them. "Oh? If I kill you, will the Crimson Demonic Emperor come here to seek revenge?" Enlin stood on the black brick and asked curiously. The deep-sea octopus king threatened, "Of course! If it senses that all 3 of us have fallen in Bolon City, the Crimson Demonic Emperor will definitely lead the sea monster army to raze Bolon City to the ground within 2 days. If you let me go, I can plead with the Crimson Demonic Emperor to spare your life." Enlin smiled. "The Crimson Demonic Emperor will come here of its own accord? That's great." Then, under the deep-sea octopus king's incredulous gaze, the mountain-quaking lightning fist crashed down and its body was completely engulfed in an explosion. Soon, the battle came to an end. The sea monster army was completely annihilated. Enlin, Xiao Chou, and Dubai returned to the city wall and were treated like heroes by the Pearl Tribe soldiers. Cheers and celebrations reverberated throughout the city wall. "Thank you, human friends, for protecting the city and saving the people of Bolon City." The Pearl King rolled around on the spot with excitement in his voice. Apparently, rolling around on the spot was a gesture of gratitude from the Pearl Tribe, similar to how humans knelt down and kowtowed. "It's nothing. Please rise, General. We only came here because we couldn't stand the cruelty of the sea monsters." Enlin helped the rolling Pearl King to his feet with a solemn expression. The Pearl King replied respectfully, "Then I would like to ask my human friends to move to my manor so that I can properly entertain all of you." Enlin thought about it for a moment. He still had to wait for the Crimson Demonic Emperor to come to him anyway, so it wasn't a bad idea to move to a better environment. He got onto Dubai's back and went to pick up the beauty of Bolon City, Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi looked up at Enlin and the others with reverence in her eyes. She had witnessed the battle outside Bolon City from the restaurant in the distance, so she knew a little about it. Wasn't the monstrous monkey king that had appeared when the city gate was breached this adorably ugly monkey, lying on Enlin's shoulder right now? They had only gone to join in on the fun, but who would have thought that they would suddenly become the heroes who had saved Bolon City? Chi-Chi was both astonished and in awe at the same time. She stared at Enlin with tears in her large eyes, but unfortunately, Enlin didn't respond to her seductive gaze at all. The Pearl King was a general of Billowing Wave City, as well as the city lord. His mansion had pavilions, terraces, and pavilions, and the scenery was picturesque. There were also beautiful maids. It was the best place in the entire city. Since Enlin had already eaten dinner, they only ate some fruits and drank a jug of wine in the guest hall before enjoying a group of beautiful pearl dancers. The Pearl Tribe's most frequent dance move was the roll. One could see the female dancers rolling in all types of formations, creating a series of beautiful white arcs. It was actually quite beautiful. The Pearl King sat on the main seat and watched with great interest. Don't worry about the Crimson Demonic Emperor, Mr. Enlin. I've already reported everything that has happened here to the king through a voice transmission talisman. The king has also agreed to send some top-notch cultivators to assist Bolon City, the Pearl King announced as he sipped on some wine. Enlin didn't really mind. After all, he had the 2 Gundams, so taking care of an Emperor-level sea monster shouldn't be an issue. The next day, news of Enlin's exploits spread throughout the entire Bolon City. When Bolon City was being attacked by the sea monsters, the Black Flame Monkey King, the Divine Wind White Dog, and Sword Immortal Enlin stepped in and defeated the sea monster army, thereby becoming the heroes of Bolon City. Enlin was quite elated to be referred to as Sword Immortal by the Pearls of Bolon City. This was a monumental transformation from a self-proclaimed title to a respectable title. Even though he was being referred to by a bunch of pearls, it was still something to be proud of. It was also on this night that the Pearl Kingdom's most powerful cultivator arrived. Enlin had initially thought that the powerful being would be a super badass, round, and white pearl. However, he later discovered that it was a gorgeous beauty. Not a beautiful woman in the pearl sense, but a beautiful woman in the human sense. Chapter 272. Mr. Enlin, thank you for everything you've done for Bolon City. My name is Balian, and I'll be taking over the protection of Bolon City from now on. A woman in a blue dress appeared before Enlin and spoke in a cold voice. She had the transcendent disposition of a celestial maiden, and her eyes were as clear as water with a hint of coldness. Her skin was as fair as snow with a hint of pink, as if water could be squeezed out of it. Most importantly, she had a pair of intricate dragon horns. Mr. Balian is from the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas? Enlin was a little surprised. Balian nodded lightly. I'm the 11th princess of the Dragon Court. I've been traveling around the Pearl Kingdom for the past 2 days, and after hearing about this from the king, I came to take care of it. The Dragon Court protects the coastal kingdoms, so you don't need to interfere. Just leave it to me. That's fine, I'm here to help as well. I have a mission that requires me to slay the Crimson Demonic Emperor with my own 2 hands, so please let me take care of that sea monster. Enlin spoke with a sincere expression. He was still waiting to kill the Crimson Demonic Emperor, and now that it had come knocking on his door, he couldn't just let it go. Balian's brows furrowed slightly. Are you kidding me? You're only a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator, and you want to kill the Crimson Demonic Emperor? Don't worry, I have a trump card that can take care of it, Enlin replied. What trump card? 2 soul formation stage puppets. I don't believe you. Balian shook her head. She had already lost her patience with Enlin. I'll prioritize the safety of Bolon City, and I won't hold back when necessary. You're on your own. In her heart, Enlin had already been labeled as an arrogant person. Emperor-level sea monsters were not to be trifled with. A spirit-nurturing stage cultivator was asking her to let go of a soul formation stage sea monster? Did he really think he was invincible just because he had slain a few spirit kings? If it weren't for the fact that Enlin had saved Bolon City once, she wouldn't even bother talking to Enlin. Enlin sighed helplessly. Then let's rely on our own abilities. Balian harumphed coldly and left without saying anything else. Dabai shook his head. They're both peerless prodigies from the Dragon Court, but Shin Yin gives off a better vibe. It had experienced Shin Yin's experience in the Winter Dragon Tomb, so it couldn't help but compare the 2 of them. She's not wrong to make such a decision. After all, not every cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage is as talented as me and can slay a spirit-beast emperor of the soul formation stage, so it's normal for her to be apprehensive. But, the founder of the last hit style is here, why would I be afraid of being killed? Enlin chuckled, his face full of confidence. Dabai's lips twitched upon hearing this. This is the first time I've seen someone who can boast about themselves after being looked down upon. Big brother, and I'm impressed. And Lin pursed his lips. She's no match for Shen Yin either. Dabai faltered slightly before coming to a sudden realization. Big brother and is right. In order to welcome Bail Yen's arrival, a lavish banquet was held at the Pearl King's manor. And Lin and the others were also invited to the banquet, and they immediately dug in at the sight of the bountiful seafood. The Pearl King raised his wine glass. It is a great honor for Bolan City that Xiao Longnu is willing to help us fight the Crimson Demonic Emperor. Let's toast to Xiao Longnu. Cough cough. And Lin, who was in the midst of eating and drinking delicacies, instantly choked upon hearing the term Dragon Princess. And Lin waved his hands apologetically at the sight of everyone's bewildered expressions. Sorry, I ate too fast and choked. Bail Yen's brows furrowed slightly as she labeled An Lin as a vulgar person in her mind. An Lin repressed his urge to laugh as he toasted Xiao Longnu with the Pearl King. Shen Yin already had the title of Heavenly Dragon Maiden, so Bail Yen had the title of Xiao Longnu. That's right. But he didn't know where her Yangguo was, so he better not be bullied by Yin Daozhang. The banquet concluded, and everyone returned to their rooms to rest. Deep into the night, the luminous pearls on the city walls glowed with a dazzling light. The sea breeze howled in a violent manner. Many pearl soldiers were patrolling the city gates. The Crimson Demonic Emperor was most likely going to attack in a day or two, so the number of soldiers stationed on the city walls was several times greater than before. There were also many powerful beings who had been transferred from other parts of the Pearl Kingdom. A woman in a blue robe was standing on the city wall. The whistling sea breeze made the light muslin stick closely to her body, revealing her graceful and slender curves. And Lin climbed up the city wall and made his way toward the beautiful figure. Hi, Dragon Princess. You're out for some fresh air this late at night? The woman turned to look at him expressionlessly before turning back to look at the sea in the distance. Why are you out at this hour? To look at the night scenery? An Lin faltered slightly upon hearing this. He didn't think that Xiao Longnu would be so sarcastic. I can't sleep, so I came out for a walk. Hee, the monkey on your shoulder and the white dog behind you also can't sleep? An awkward expression appeared on An Lin's face. He couldn't tell her that he was afraid that the Crimson Demonic Emperor would be slain by Xiao Longnu, so he came to kill her. Bail Yen looked into the distance, and an almost imperceptible smile appeared on her face. She fell silent for a moment before speaking again. There's something strange about the flow of the sea, and there's an unsettling aura in the sea breeze. The enemies coming tonight probably won't be easy to deal with. Just do what you can. I won't be able to spare any attention to protect you in battle. An Lin nodded with a hint of surprise in his heart. As expected of the dragon tribe, he couldn't feel the sea breeze at all. It was just that the wind was a little noisy today. The waves on the sea grew larger and larger, and dark clouds obscured the moon and stars in the sky. The atmosphere gradually became oppressive. They're here. Bail Yen's expression became grave. On the surface of the sea, 3 black figures grew larger and larger, and an extremely powerful aura swept toward them. Bail Yen's expression instantly shifted drastically upon sensing these 3 auras. Not just the Crimson Demonic Emperor. There are 3 Emperor-level sea monsters. Could they be from the 7 Demons realm? That doesn't make sense. Why would they join forces? She felt like things were spiraling out of her control for the first time. She was only a newly advanced soul formation intermediate stage cultivator, so she was confident that she could take on 1 Emperor-level sea monster with ease. Who would have thought that there would be 3 of them? A large number of sea monsters surged toward Bolan City like a tidal wave. In the sky, a huge silver falcon flew through the air and circled in the sky. A white flying cocoon over 1,000 feet in length broke through the black clouds and descended upon the world. Divine Wind Demon Monarch, Myriad Wave Demon Monarch. Bail Yen's body swayed slightly, and her face was completely devoid of color as her eyes were filled with shock and bewilderment. Impossible! How could there be 5 Emperor-level sea monsters? This lineup is enough to raise half of the Pearl Kingdom to the ground. How could they only use them to attack Bolon City? She then seemed to have thought of something, and she turned to Enlin in a panicked voice. Hurry up and run. There's no need for you to participate in this battle. You'll die if you stay here. Enlin blinked in confusion. What about you? Bailien crushed a jade talisman in her hand and looked up at the 5 gargantuan creatures in the distance with a determined expression. I can't leave yet. Once I leave this place, Bolon City's defensive line will immediately collapse and all of the living beings in the city will be slaughtered by them. I'll use a mystic technique to stall for as long as possible until the Dragon Court reinforcements arrive. Enlin looked deeply into Bailien's eyes, as if he was looking at a new dragon maiden. She was most likely well aware of the success rate of using a mystic technique to stall for time. Otherwise, she wouldn't have told Enlin to leave this place as soon as possible. With this in mind, Enlin smiled in relief. Let me help you, I can't bear to see so many adorable pearls die. Also, I've said it before, I must obtain the head of the Crimson Demonic Emperor, so don't try to take it from me. You. Bailien didn't know what to say. When she saw the determination and confidence in Enlin's eyes, she finally heaved a light sigh and nodded, as if she had resigned herself to fate. In her heart, she labeled Enlin as a good person. Then, I'll leave the Crimson Demonic Emperor to you. I'll go hold off the other 4. No, aside from the Crimson Demonic Emperor, I'll take care of 2 more of them. The other 2 are yours. Are you crazy? I'm not crazy. Let me show you a big treasure. Chapter 273. Enlin's storage ring flashed, and 2 puppets that glowed with a silver metallic sheen appeared. Bailien looked at the 2 puppets with a surprised expression. These are the trump cards you were talking about? Enlin nodded. These 2 Gundams are no less powerful than Soul Formation Initial Stage. From their auras, there are 3 Soul Formation Initial Stage Sea Monsters and 2 Soul Formation Intermediate Stage Sea Monsters. The Divine Wind Demon Emperor and the Myriad Wave Demon Emperor are Mid-Deity Transformation Realm Great Demons. You'll hold them off. Leave the other 3 to us. We'll take care of them as soon as possible and come back to help you. Bailien looked at Enlin with disbelief in her eyes. The sea monster army surged toward them from the distance, and the horn of battle sounded throughout the entire Bolon City. A minotaur with a pair of crimson horns on its head flew through the air atop a wave of crimson blood. A whale that was several hundred feet in length was lifted into the air by a black mist and slowly flew toward the city wall. Its eyes glowed with a purple light that seemed to possess the power to enchant one's soul. A sea monster with a body covered in green coral walked on 2 legs. Its hands were like scythes, and it was able to cover over 100 feet in a single step. Even the earth in its wake was corroded and melted as an aura of death permeated the air. Crimson Demonic Emperor, Overlord Whale, Coral Reaper. Bailien uttered the names of these infamous Emperor-level sea monsters. The Pearl King, who had rushed over upon hearing the battle horn, was so frightened that he collapsed on the city wall. His face was ashen as he muttered, "Why are there so many Emperor-level great demons? Does the heavens want my Bolon City dead?" Not only was the Pearl King dumbstruck, but all of the Pearl soldiers on the city wall were also shocked. Normally, a single Beast Emperor could destroy several large cities. Now, 5 Beast Emperors had come to Bolon City. What were they going to do? Capture 10,000 pearls and use them as sacrifices. Kill the rest. The Crimson Demonic Emperor stood proudly in the sky with crimson waves swirling around him. His voice reverberated throughout the entire heaven and earth. This was not a declaration of war. This was a declaration of a result. Rumble, the sea monster army moved, and their battle cries reverberated through the heavens. At the same time, the 5 Beast Emperors also sprang into action with cold expressions, as if they were preparing to crush an ant. The giant silver eagle brought with it a white lightning bolt, like a sharp sword that could cut the sky, and crashed straight into the city wall. "Don't die." Balian's eyes turned golden as she glanced at Anlin. Then, countless bolts of lightning burst forth from her body as she charged toward the divine wind demon monarch. Like the most dazzling meteors, they collided. Boom! The collision of the two completely different types of destructive lightning lit up the night sky as if it was as bright as day. Then, under the astonished gazes of the other 4 demon thearchs, the divine wind demon Tharch was pushed back hundreds of meters by Xiaolongnu. "It's the Dragon Court." The Crimson Demonic Emperor immediately reacted. "Don't worry, she's alone. Let's surround her and kill her." The Overlord whale turned its body, its eyes shining with purple light. However, at that moment, a silver Gundam descended from the sky and punched the Overlord whale's body. From afar, it looked like a silver speck of light had landed on the pitch-black body, and then smashed it into the huge body, causing it to cave in. The Overlord whale screamed and fell from the sky. The Coral Reaper's expression changed. Just as he was about to rush over to help, another silver figure came toward him. The light sword in his hand was as fast as lightning, drawing a blue moonlight in the air. "There are reinforcements?" He dodged to the side and released a thick green fog. This poisonous fog was strong enough to corrode magic artifacts, and it enveloped the silver Gundam. Shrouded in the poisonous mist, the Gundam quickly brandished its lightsaber, forcing the Coral King to retreat. The armor, which was glowing with a metallic luster, was as smooth as a mirror, and the poisonous mist was unable to damage it at all. "Damn it, where did these puppets come from?" The Crimson Demonic Emperor's heart tightened as he looked around the battlefield. Then, he saw a man riding a white dog pouncing towards him, and beside him was a Monkey King shrouded in black flames. On the city walls of Bolan City, a group of soldiers began to fight back against the sea monster army. When the soldiers were in despair, Anlin and the others, as well as Xiaolongnu, made a powerful move and stopped the 5 insufferably arrogant demon thearchs. This was undoubtedly a huge boost to the soldiers' morale. "Hold on, everyone. We haven't lost this battle yet," the Pearl King roared as he swung his sword. The city protection spell formation was activated, and countless spell techniques rained down upon the city, blasting a series of craters into the ground as countless sea monsters were torn to shreds by the explosions. However, there were simply too many sea monsters, and the city walls were also trembling violently under their onslaught. It was clear that they wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. In the sky above, Balian, who was battling the divine wind demon Tharch and the myriad wave demon Tharch, had fallen into a dire situation. Both of them were veteran soul formation intermediate stage cultivators, but she was a newly advanced soul formation intermediate stage cultivator. Even though she had the support of her powerful bloodline, she was still unable to defeat the 2 demon thearchs. Did she have to use that mystic technique? That was a mystic technique that sacrificed the purity of her bloodline to temporarily increase her power. If she used it, she would have no hope of progressing to the Return to Void stage in the future. However, if she didn't use that mystic technique now, Anlin and the others would most likely die. Balian turned toward Anlin with concern in her eyes. She was then greeted by the sight of the Crimson Demonic Emperor's head flying through the air. A man with a pair of white wings of wind on his back flew through the air. His white eyes seemed to be able to see through all illusions, as if he were a sword immortal. "That's Anlin? He really did kill the Crimson Demonic Emperor. But he's only of the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage. How did he do it?" Balian's pupils contracted slightly, and her expression was filled with shock as she stared blankly at Anlin. The other 4 demon thearchs were also given a fright when they sensed the Crimson Demonic Emperor's aura dissipating. They were even more shocked, speechless upon discovering that the one who had killed the Crimson Demonic Emperor was a human of the spirit-nurturing stage. "Are you kidding me?" The Crimson Demonic Emperor was killed by a human of the spirit-nurturing stage? Even with the assistance of that huge dog and the Monkey King, there's no way he could have been defeated so quickly. A chill ran down the divine wind demon Thearka's spine. That human cultivator is the key. Revenge. The myriad wave demon Tharch charged toward Enlin, and over 100 flying mutant beasts flew out from within the gigantic cocoon toward Enlin. The divine wind demon Tharch spread open its silver wings and summoned bolts of lightning to envelop its body as it tore through the air toward Enlin at supersonic speed. Bailien gritted her teeth, and lightning flashed as she positioned herself in front of Enlin. Her hands danced through the air like butterflies as she cast a series of incantation seals. 9 blue lightning dragons soared into the sky and formed a coiling dragon formation to keep the 2 demon Thearchs at bay. Enlin had just slain the demon Thearchs when a ding-dong chimed in his mind. Congratulations, host, mission accomplished. Immediately afterward, he felt a certain shackle within his body being broken. Xiao Cho, Dabai, protect me, I'm about to make a breakthrough. Enlin yelled as he hurriedly flew toward the city wall to meditate. Big brother, and don't mess around. Didn't you just make a breakthrough not long ago? Woof. Dabai flew to Enlin's side and stared at him with wide, round eyes. However, the only response he received was a violent surge of vital energy between heaven and earth, as well as a vital energy vortex that covered an area of several thousand feet. Dabai. Xiao Cho picked his nose. Big brother, and don't try to apply those theories of the cultivation world to Big brother, and Dabai nodded with a solemn expression. I was wrong. Someone was about to make a breakthrough? The 4 demon Thearchs sensed the violent surge of the vital energy of heaven and earth. They turned their eyes toward Enlin, and their eyelids twitched involuntarily. It's him again? Was he celebrating by killing their crimson demonic emperor by making a breakthrough? Bailien's lips also twitched slightly. She couldn't understand this human cultivator anymore, and she silently labeled him as a miraculous cultivator. Chapter 274. As long as we kill that human cultivator, the puppets will stop moving. This is the fastest way for us to break out of this situation. The Coral Reaper god spoke in a panicked voice after dodging the Gundam's particle sword. I'll use a mystic technique to trap the puppets. You 2 attack together and kill that human cultivator. The Overlord whale's eyes glowed with a purple light. Its body suddenly expanded at a rapid rate as its aura climbed steadily. A monstrous wave of black mist surged forth in all directions. Overlord's domain, myriad demon lock. The Overlord whale let loose a long roar as the black mist materialized into a myriad of substantial chains that hurtled toward the 2 Gundams. The Gundam unleashed a light sword to shatter the chains, while the other Gundam even unleashed an energy cannon to shatter the chains. However, the black chains were like an inescapable net. They were endless and multiplied endlessly, trapping the 2 Gundams. Boundless sea bind. The myriad wave demon emperor's body squirmed violently as countless threads capable of slicing through steel shot forth from the giant white cocoon toward Bailien like an indestructible white wave. Soon, Bailien was trapped in a ball of threads. Lightning crackled within her body, but she was unable to break through this iron wall. The divine wind demon monarch spread its wings and flew toward the city wall. The 2 emperor-level sea monsters, the divine wind demon monarch and the Coral Reaper god, charged toward Enlin with monstrous auras. That's right, they only needed a split second to kill this human cultivator and turn the tables. The attacks of the Pearl soldiers were like mere tickles to them, and the divine wind demon monarch's silver wings tore through the city wall's defensive formation with ease. Die, human cultivator! The Coral Reaper god unleashed a green poison, which transformed into a massive green skull. It opened its pitch-black mouth and pounced toward Enlin, who was in the middle of a breakthrough. Xiao Cho and Dabai charged toward Enlin, and black flames and wind blades slashed through the air toward the green skull. Boom! The green skull was pulverized into a cloud of green smoke as if it had been struck by a heavy blow. Xiao Chou put on his azure battle luo mask and unleashed his aura to block the Coral Reaper god's attack. However, the divine wind demon monarch was already upon them. If the clown and the others hadn't retreated, they would have been smashed to death by a soul formation intermediate stage attack. However, regardless of whether it was Xiao Chou or Dabai, both of them chose to stand in front of Enlin with determined expressions. The divine wind demon monarch charged forward with an unstoppable force and was about to crush everything in front of it into minced meat. Boom! A golden bolt of lightning descended from the sky like a sharp sword that tore through the sky. It broke through the domain of the divine wind and smashed heavily on its head. Ah! The divine wind demon monarch let out a blood-curdling scream as his body plummeted to the ground as if he had been crushed by Mount Tai. Rumble! The sea demons on the ground were flattened by the divine wind demon monarch's body, creating a huge pit with a radius of over 1,000 feet. Blood flowed from its head, and Bai Lian stood on its head with a cold expression on her face. Bai Lian's aura was extremely powerful, and crimson lines flickered like pulses all over her body. Golden lightning enshrouded her entire body, exuding a terrifying lightning power. Who would have thought that I would have to use this mystic technique after all? A cold voice tinged with melancholy sounded. A forlorn smile appeared on Xiaolongnu's face. She didn't think that she would have to use her mystic technique for the sake of a measly cultivator. Myriad Chong, what the hell are you doing? The divine wind demon monarch was both shocked and enraged. It didn't think that Bai Lian would suddenly appear just as it was about to succeed. A hole had already been blasted into the Myriad Chong demon monarch's white spherical cage, and white smoke was rising from it. White lightning began to erupt from the divine wind demon monarch's body as it charged toward Xiaolongnu. Xiaolongnu was enshrouded within the golden lightning, and the white lightning was repelled upon striking the golden lightning, as if it had encountered a higher level of lightning. At the same time, Xiaolongnu's fists whistled mercilessly toward the divine wind demon monarch. Each and every punch was like a bolt of divine lightning, causing the earth to tremor violently. The divine wind demon monarch's anguished wails rang out incessantly. Right at this moment, Enlin opened his tightly shut eyes, and the inky black evil-slaying sword in his hand began to tremble lightly. The Coral Reaper, who was being held back by the clown, saw Enlin stand up and spread open his white wings. In the blink of an eye, Enlin appeared behind it, and silk-like streams of wind revolved around his black longsword. The Coral Reaper's eyes widened, and it felt a chill run down its neck. And then, there was no more and then, its black head slowly slid off, and blood gushed forth. Enlin could feel the energy coursing through his body. When he was only of the spirit-nurturing initial stage, he was already on the brink of exhaustion after using the wind sword once. Now that he was of the spirit-nurturing final stage, his sea of vital energy had expanded by several times, and the beast core's vital energy absorption was also extremely efficient. He could probably use a powerful technique like the wind sword 5 or 6 times. The Myriad Chong demon monarch's white body had already disappeared into the black clouds. Enlin saw Bai Lian, who was surrounded by golden lightning, and beneath her feet was the divine wind demon monarch, who had been pummeled to death. Bai Lian tilted her head and smiled at Enlin. Crimson lines shimmered on her snowy skin. "Are you all right?" Enlin's heart trembled, and he shook his head. "I'm fine, hurry up and withdraw your mystic technique." He spread open his white wings of wind and soared into the sky, flying toward the overlord whale that had trapped his 2 Gundams. Enlin's heart was filled with rage and remorse. He had underestimated the abilities of these emperor-level sea monsters. Who would have thought that he would almost die during his breakthrough? Not only did he almost get Dabai and Clown Dabai killed, but Bai Lian had also used a mystic technique on him. He had seen this mystic technique in Xin Yin's recording. It was a mystic technique that sacrificed the purity of one's bloodline. Once used, one's bloodline would become mottled, making it extremely difficult for one's cultivation base to progress, Unlin charged toward the Overlord whale. The Overlord whale had already escaped to the shore, and tens of thousands of black chains pounced toward Unlin like snakes upon seeing him. Third technique, 100 sword technique. The evil-slaying sword flew into the air. Vital energy surged, and 99 white celestial swords suddenly appeared in the air. As soon as the celestial swords appeared, there seemed to be countless streaks of sword intent sweeping through the sky, causing the space around them to tremble. A frosty river swept through heaven and earth. Each of the white celestial swords was extremely condensed and imbued with extremely powerful energy. Go! Unlin pointed a finger, and the 99 celestial swords whistled toward the Overlord whale. The Overlord whale sensed an extremely powerful threat of death, and the black chains changed the trajectory of its attack toward Unlin, forming layers of defensive barriers in front of it. Rumble! The white celestial swords were imbued with the power to slice through heaven and earth, shattering the layers of black chains. The ocean behind the Overlord whale was also sliced in half by the sword intent. Unstoppable! Right before the Overlord whale's astonished eyes, the 99 celestial swords completely shattered the black chain's defensive barrier, transforming into white sword projections that pierced through its massive body. Blood gushed forth. Howl! The Overlord whale howled in anguish. The final sword, the evil-slaying sword, was as black as ink. It left a deathly black trail in its wake before puncturing the Overlord whale's head like a comet crashing into the moon. The heaven-piercing sword intent sliced through the ocean behind the Overlord whale for over 6,000 feet. Boom! The Demon Emperor Overlord whale's life force was severed, and it plummeted into the ocean. The evil-slaying sword flew back to Unlin's side after drinking the blood of the 3 demon emperors. Now that's more like my master. A cold, indifferent voice sounded in Unlin's mind. A smile appeared on Unlin's face. This seemed to be the first time the evil-slaying sword had spoken to him. However, he didn't have the time to tease little Sierre right now. The 100 sword strikes were extremely taxing on his vital energy, and he was already showing signs of exhaustion. He hurriedly swallowed a spirit blood pill before making his way toward Bailien. Of the 5 Emperor-level sea monsters, 4 had died and 1 had fled. All of the sea monsters were dumbstruck. Under the relentless retaliation of Dabai the Clown and the Pearl Army, the sea monster army soon began to flee, and the battle gradually drew to a conclusion. Bailien stood atop the Divine Wind Demon Monarch's head and looked at the man making his way toward her with a complex expression. She didn't think that a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator would be able to slay Emperor-level sea monsters, and she certainly didn't think that a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator would possess such astonishing swordsmanship. As a prodigy of the Dragon Court, she silently labeled Unlin as a prodigy. Unlin stowed the 2 Gundams back into his storage ring before making his way toward Bailien with an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry." Bailien faltered slightly before a smile appeared on her face. "You should apologize. You were too reckless, and you even needed me to save you." Unlin nodded and refrained from saying, "I was a burden to you in order to use your mystic technique." Perhaps Bailien didn't want others to know that her bloodline was already tainted. This was her pride. If she didn't say anything, Unlin would just pretend that he didn't know. In reality, Unlin had learned from Xin Yin's projection that there was an ancient method that could refine one's bloodline. Xin Yin had once sacrificed her bloodline when the 6 Paths demon and god invaded the Dragon Court, and she then tried to find a way to refine and activate her bloodline. However, this method was quite difficult to refine and activate, so Unlin decided to tell Bailien only when he was close to success. "Let's go, Dragon Princess." All right. Chapter 275. Within the 7 demon realms, within an area enshrouded in white mist, there was an island that glowed with a purple light. The huge white chrysalis passed through the mist and slowly landed on the island. Myriad-wave Demon Emperor, why are you the only one back? Where are the other emperors? A white demonic bear, exuding a chilling aura, asked. An opening appeared on the gigantic white chrysalis, and a huge white butterfly flew out from it. It looked at the bear and flaming dragon before it. Dead, they're all dead. All 4 of them are dead? The flaming dragon was shocked. Did you encounter the Dragon Court Divine Position team? The butterfly shook its head. No, we encountered a powerful horned dragon. If it was just her, we wouldn't have failed. Most importantly, we encountered a human cultivator. The butterfly spoke with lingering fear in its heart as it recounted all of the inconceivable things about that human cultivator. He possessed a metal puppet comparable to a soul formation stage cultivator. His sword techniques were superb. He was able to slay the Crimson Demonic Emperor at the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage, and he was able to kill the Overlord Whale with a single strike. The White Bear and Flaming Dragon both fell silent upon hearing this. How could there be a human cultivator like this? After a moment of silence, the White Bear spoke with a grave expression. In that case, the 10 Spirit Blood Sacrifice formation is still missing one tribe. The Pearl Tribe. On the ground, there was a formation composed of blood that glowed with a peculiar light. This formation encompassed the entire island, and the blood was like the most complex network that flowed slowly. The blood would not dry up, and it flowed endlessly on the purple land. The butterfly heaved a forlorn sigh. The Crimson Demonic Emperor wanted to bring us to the final step of the 10 Spirit Blood Sacrifice formation. Who would have thought that we would encounter something like this? Could this be fate? This was just an accident. There are still 15 days until the Holy One is resurrected. We still have a chance. The flaming dragon spoke in a solemn voice. This time, I'll take the containment bead with me. I'll find a city in the Pearl Kingdom and suck away 10,000 Pearl Tribe living beings. I don't believe we'll be so unlucky again. The butterfly and the white bear heaved a sigh of relief. The flaming dragon was the fastest among the 7 emperors. It was a piece of cake for him to use the containment bead to abduct 10,000 Pearl Tribe living beings. Within Bolan City, an earth-shattering battle that would go down in the annals of the Pearl Kingdom had just concluded. Balian had returned to the Pearl Kingdom and had crushed her jade talisman to ask for reinforcements from the Divine Guardian Squad. Seeing that the battle was over, she sent a message to the Divine Guardian Squad and requested them to continue searching for the myriad wave demon emperor in the 7 devilish regions. The moon set and the sun rose. In less than a day, the news of the 4 demonic emperors being beheaded outside Bolan City had spread throughout the entire Pearl Kingdom. Then, and the Pearl Kingdom. Anlin had accidentally become the hero of the Pearl Kingdom again. He and Xiaolongnu were called the Pearl Twins by the group of pearls. Anlin felt like this title wasn't bad. It was much better than titles like Poison Lord and Backdoor Entrant, and it was second only to Anlin's title of Sword Immortal. Within the Pearl King's garden, Anlin once again saw Balian, who was squatting beside the lake and playing with the little fish. "Hello, Dragon Star." Anlin greeted her with a smile. Balian raised her head to look at the man walking toward her with a smile on his face. Then, she lowered her eyes and continued to play with the goldfish by the lake with her tree branch. However, her lips were slightly parted as she blew a puff of air toward the goldfish in the lake, creating a series of ripples. However, not only were the goldfish not scared away, they attracted even more fish to her. "Looks like you're quite popular. Even the fish like you so much." Anlin walked over to her with a hint of surprise. Balian ignored him and continued to play with the water in the lake. Anlin also blew a puff of air at the fish in the lake, and a few of them were blown away. "Huh. Why do they dislike me? Do I have bad breath? But I just brushed my teeth." A faint smile appeared on Balian's face. Fish have a natural affinity with the dragon tribe, so of course they're different. "Alright. Why did you call me Dragon Star?" "It's rumored that we're the Pearl Twins of the Pearl Kingdom, so of course I'll call you the Pearl Twins." Anlin wore a smug expression, as if he were about to make a name for himself. Balian nodded. The Pearl Tribe is a very kind-hearted tribe. Our battle last night was worth it to be remembered by them. I heard that the king also bestowed a bunch of treasures to us. They'll probably be here in 2 days. Unlin turned to look at the woman beside him. The woman's expression was indifferent, and it was impossible to read her emotions. Unlin continued, "You also saved my life last night. I'll give you a big present next time." Bailian shook her head lightly. "There's no need for that. You and I were comrades at the time, so isn't it normal for us to help each other in battle?" Unlin seemed to have anticipated this outcome and didn't insist. He pulled out a talisman from his pocket with a smile. "Then leave me a voice transmission talisman." Bailian was a little surprised. A ripple flashed through her eyes and she couldn't help but ask, "Why?" Let's meet again in the future." "All right." Bailian had never exchanged voice transmission talismans with another man before. She hesitated for a moment, but she still inscribed her own voice transmission talisman on Unlin's voice transmission talisman. Unlin heaved a sigh of relief after successfully exchanging phone numbers and prepared to proceed with his next plan. After returning to his room, he wrote down the items he needed to collect. 1,000-year moon sinking wood, ancient purple vine, true blood of the winged dragon, dark ice crystal, desolate fire bone, divine white herb. Unlin, Dabai, and Xiao Chou looked at the items on the list and recalled their locations. Dabai was a little distressed. "We've seen Xin Yin's experience, but it's not a complete picture. Purifying and activating one's bloodline is extremely important to Xin Yin, so the picture is relatively complete. However, many things have probably been buried after so many years." Unlin took a deep breath. "We already know the coordinates anyway, so we have to try. If we can't find them, then we'll buy them. If there's really no other way, then we'll give this list to Bailian and ask her to help us search for them." Bailian had sacrificed herself to save him, and Unlin wanted to make up for it through his own efforts rather than relying on her power. Many of the items on the list were extremely valuable. Even if they were sold in the auction house or the treasure pavilion, they would definitely be sold for astronomical prices. Unlin's little sunny egg would probably be unable to bear it. The next day, the king's rewards arrived. 1,000,000 spirit stones, a pile of exotic plants and earthly treasures, as well as many precious stones and jewels. Unlin sold everything that he could to the Pearl King. In the end, he sold the pile of items for 1,000,000 spirit stones, which was quite a substantial sum. He did some calculations and found that there were 470 spirit stones in his storage ring, which was quite a sizable sum. Bailian recuperated for a while before bidding farewell to Unlin. "I'm not going to travel for now. I'm going back to the Dragon Court." "Sure, I'll come to the Dragon Court to play with you in a while." Unlin knew why she wasn't going to travel, and he bade farewell to her with a smile. Bailian shook her head, and a mesmerizing smile appeared on her face. "You'd better not come to the Dragon Court. It's embarrassing." "Unlin." The two of them bade farewell. Thus, Unlin began his journey of treasure hunting. Chapter 276. Unlin, Dabai, and Xiao Chou walked out of the city gate surrounded by a large group of pearls. The beauty of Bolan City, Chi-Chi, was also among the group. She waved goodbye to them in a loud voice. "Senior Unlin, if you ever come to the Pearl Kingdom again, I'll be your tour guide for free." A knowing smile appeared on Unlin's face, and he waved a hand before flying toward the ocean on Dabai's back, disappearing from everyone's line of sight. Their first stop was near Green Island in the East Sea. The 1,000-year moon sinking wood was there. There is a moon sinking tree at the bottom of the sea 14 kilometers to the east of Green Island. At the time, Shen Yin couldn't bear to kill it with a single sword strike, so she only sliced off one of its branches. "I don't know if it's still there now." Unlin spoke in a calm voice as he held onto the nautical chart. "It's a 1,000-year moon sinking tree, but it was already 2,000 to 3,000 years old at the time. It's probably a 10,000-year tree demon now. If it ran away or was taken away by someone else, Then we'd have wasted our time. Woof. Dabai was a little uneasy. There's another possibility. It's already died of old age, and even its body has rotted away. Xiao Chou added. Unlin, East Sea's green island. This island was rich in vital energy and flourished with life. There were many beautiful trees and beautiful forests. From a distance, it looked like a green gem embedded in the sea, which was why it was called Green Island. Unlin followed the map and soon saw the rumored island. However, no one was in the mood to tour Green Island. Instead, they headed east 14 kilometers and dove into the sea. Xiao Chou, turn on the lights. Clang. Xiao Chou unleashed his golden eye ability, Super Searchlight. A golden pillar of light tore through the darkness like a sharp sword and pierced toward the dark bottom of the sea. Xiao Chou unleashed his half-step soul formation stage aura, and no deep-sea mutant beasts dared to approach them. After diving for over 2,000 meters, they finally reached the bottom. I remember there was a huge azure rock next to the moon's sinking tree, Unlin said. I found the boulder, but the tree is gone. The clown looked in a certain direction and saw a familiar boulder. It was still standing there after tens of thousands of years, but the greenish-yellow moon's sinking tree beside it had disappeared. Unlin's heart was empty. He hurriedly ran to the side of the boulder and examined it thoroughly. He even used an immortal technique to dig 3 feet into the ground, but the tree seemed to have disappeared into thin air. That's impossible. If the sunken moon wood is a rare material, even if it's dead, the wood wouldn't rot so easily. How can there be no trace of it at all? Did it become a spirit and run away? Was it taken away by some foreign creature? Unlin had never imagined that the first material he had found would end up like this. He found it hard to accept. On Green Island, the wind was howling, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. On the white stone altar, a group of tree demons and spirit beasts crouched on the ground, shivering. I, the ancient Moon Emperor, have killed the Azure Emperor here today. Do you have any objections? A greenish-yellow treant stood proudly in the center of the stone altar with a golden longsword in its hand, its might overwhelming. Beside it, another greenish-yellow treant had been cut into 2, and its vitality had already been severed. The tree demons and spirit beasts hurriedly shook their heads, unable to say a word of objection. The Azure Emperor was the most powerful being on Green Island. Even it had died in the hands of the ancient Moon Emperor. How could they dare to resist? Seeing all the powerful beings on Green Island kneeling before it, the ancient Moon Emperor laughed loudly. The aura of a king was released unscrupulously, and it felt extremely carefree and heroic. I, the ancient Moon Emperor, comprehended Tao for 3,000 years at the bottom of the sea, but my perfect body was destroyed by a slut's sword, and my path to Tao was severed. But my heart was not broken, and the heavenly Tao took pity on me. After 9,000 years, I condensed a perfect body again, reforged my path to Tao, and even comprehended Tao perfectly. Now I am the Emperor of Green Island. Who has any objections? Its voice was like the waves of the sea, surging with rage and full of power, causing the trees in a radius of several hundred feet to tremble. The ancient Moon Emperor was extremely happy. This was because today was the day it descended upon Green Island. This was the most glorious moment in its 10,000 years of existence. Look, not a single living being on Green Island dared to oppose it. I don't accept this. A voice suddenly traveled down from the sky. This voice was like a clap of thunder, shattering the silent atmosphere. All the treants and spirit beasts trembled, and they raised their heads to look at the sky. They wanted to see who was so reckless as to dare to oppose the terrifyingly powerful ancient Moon Emperor. The ancient Moon Emperor's expression also changed, and it raised its head to look at the sky. It didn't think that someone would disturb it when it was about to ascend to the throne. At this moment, it had already sentenced the intruder to death in its mind. Then, all the living beings on Green Island saw an unfamiliar face. It was a monkey. It held a silver staff in its hand, and its entire body was enveloped in black flames. The black crystal armor on its body made it look majestic, but its face was a bit too ugly. The ancient Moon Emperor sensed that the monkey was only of the half-step soul formation stage, and the monkey's followers, the white dog and the human cultivator, were also only of the spirit nurturing stage. It instantly laughed coldly. "And who are you? Why don't you accept this?" The other living beings on Green Island were all disappointed when they discovered that the Monkey King, who had spoken up to oppose them, hadn't even reached the soul formation stage. They felt that this monkey had really gone crazy. One had to know that the Azure Emperor of Green Island was a mighty being of the soul formation initial stage. Even so, it had been sliced in half by the ancient Moon Emperor's sword. A monkey that hadn't even reached the soul formation stage was shouting in front of the ancient Moon Emperor. If this wasn't seeking death, then what was? "Ahem, I'm the general, the golden-eyed Monkey King. As for why I don't accept this, I just don't accept this." The Monkey King replied boldly and forcefully. That's right, the intruders were precisely the clown, Dabai, and Enlin. Hearing the clown's words, all the living beings on Green Island were instantly shocked. The ancient Moon Emperor was also stunned. This was the first time it had seen a monkey that was so arrogant despite being weak. At this moment, Dabai was secretly transmitting his voice to Enlin excitedly. "Look, big brother, and, apart from having many faces and limbs, this moon-sinking tree is almost exactly the same as the one in the image. It's become a spirit. I was just saying that it might have gone to some island and become a king. I didn't expect such a coincidence." Enlin also had a gratified expression on his face. Mountains are heavy and rivers are heavy, but there's still a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. If it hadn't caused such a huge commotion, we might not have come here. This is fate. Seeing the clown's arrogant appearance, the ancient Moon Emperor knew that it had to kill the chicken to warn the monkey again. Kill the monkey to warn the other living beings. "Since you don't accept this, then you can go and die." The ancient Moon Emperor wasn't a tree that liked to talk nonsense. A full moon appeared behind it, and its white moonlight covered a radius of 30 meters. It's appeared. The ancient Moon Emperor's moonlight protection domain. This is an absolute defense. The Green Emperor fought it to the death, but he couldn't even break through its domain and was killed. Seeing this scene, the trance below immediately exclaimed in shock. The ancient Moon Emperor killing the Green Emperor without being injured was too shocking to the powerful beings on Green Island. The extremely terrifying defense made the ancient Moon Emperor invincible, and it also made them completely give up on the idea of resisting. The ancient Moon Emperor smiled confidently. Ever since it was struck by that woman's sword, it swore to protect itself well. From then on, it would become a tree that would never be injured. It was because of this determination that it finally comprehended the moonlight protection domain. From now on, only it could bully others, and no one could bully it. "Die, ugly monkey!" The ancient Moon Emperor took a step forward, and with a towering aura, it soared into the sky. Its golden longsword was aimed at the clown, and it mercilessly slashed down. Chapter 277. The clown put on the Azure Battle Arhat mask, and his aura suddenly increased. The ancient Moon Emperor also smashed down with his staff. Boom! The long sword and the silver staff collided, forming a circular vacuum. Then, a loud explosion occurred. The wind howled and heaven and earth shook. The clown was forced back several meters, and the ancient Moon Emperor was also forced back a few steps. The ancient Moon Emperor was shocked. It didn't expect the monkey's strength to be on par with its own. Again, it shouted and continued to pounce toward the clown. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, the ancient Moon Emperor and the clown fought. Vital energy surged, and the sound of their battle echoed for 3 kilometers. The powerful beings of Green Island looked at the battle in the sky in shock. They didn't expect the monkey, who hadn't even reached the soul formation stage, to be able to fight against the ancient Moon Emperor. Boom! The clown became more and more courageous. With another powerful staff strike, the ancient Moon Emperor was forced back several dozen meters. This time, the expressions of the beings of Green Island changed again. Heavens, the handsome Monkey King is actually suppressing the ancient Moon Emperor. Is the master of Green Island going to change hands again? It's impossible. An old tree man shook his head. The Monkey King's attack can't break through the ancient Moon Emperor's moonlight protection domain. Also, the Monkey King is probably using some kind of method to increase his strength. This method can't last long. Once the effect disappears, the Monkey King will die. In reality, just as the tree man said, the effect of the clown's Azure Battle Arhat mask was about to disappear. Still a little bit more. Unlin took out the evil-slaying sword from his storage ring. The ancient Moon Emperor and the clown were in the middle of a fierce battle. No one would pay attention to the actions of a small cultivator. However, at this moment, the sky suddenly became pitch black. Second strike, Shadow Tiger. Everything became silent. The ancient Moon Emperor suddenly trembled, and an unprecedented sense of danger enveloped its body. It immediately activated the moonlight protection domain, and the full moon released endless white light. However, the darkness was like the sharpest claws, tearing apart the white light and eroding the full moon. No! The ancient Moon Emperor begged in horror. At this moment, it recalled the cruelty of the dragon tribe female's sword, and felt the fear of being trampled on. "Lend me your arm." Unlin's cold voice sounded from within the absolute darkness and silence, and Unlin emerged from the shadows before slashing his evil-slaying sword down with a soundless divine might. The black sword shadow that stretched for more than 1,000 feet instantly descended, and the ancient Moon Emperor screamed in agony in midair. The light reappeared, and the darkness disappeared as quickly as it came. When the creatures of the Green Island saw the situation in the sky again, a huge white dog had already fled into the distance with the Monkey King with a thick greenish-yellow arm in its mouth. Humph, what bullsh *T Emperor of Green Island. He can't even withstand a single strike from me, Unlin. I'll spare your life. Reflect on your actions. The handsome man who had just unleashed his sword threw down a few words before turning to the creatures of Green Island with a tall and imposing back. Then, he flew away on the strange black brick, and no one dared to stop him. They were all astonished. They didn't understand how this spirit-nurturing stage cultivator could be so powerful. However, they were very clear about one thing, and that was that the sword immortal named Unlin had defeated the ancient Moon Emperor at the summit of Green Island with a single sword strike. His deeds would definitely spread across the entire Green Island and even the East Sea. Of course, the prerequisite was that the ancient Moon Emperor didn't mind. The ancient Moon Emperor had survived a great calamity, and it had long since lost its proud aura. Instead, its entire body trembled slightly as it landed on the stone altar. It knew that if it wasn't for Unlin holding back, it wouldn't have been as simple as losing an arm. Instead, its entire body would have been sliced in half. That man with terrifying sword techniques had left. Why did he leave after delivering a single sword strike? The ancient Moon Emperor didn't understand. However, when it thought about the huge dog that had its arm in its mouth, it seemed to understand something. Didn't that dragon tribe female also leave after slicing off a part of its arm? The familiar scene made it extremely frightened, and it couldn't help but shiver. Those who dared to provoke me have all been chased away by me. Now that I'm the Emperor of Green Island, who dares defy me? The ancient Moon Emperor's voice was like a torrent of waves, and it was full of might as it spoke again. The beings of Green Island felt as if their intelligence had been insulted, but they still didn't dare to make a sound. Although the ancient Moon Emperor had lost an arm, there was still no one here who could defeat it. Since no one objects, then I'm the Emperor of Green Island today. The ancient Moon Emperor made the final decision and ascended to the throne of Green Island. Congratulations, new Emperor! The ancient Moon Emperor's magic power is boundless, and your longevity is boundless. The tree people and spirit beasts of Green Island spoke in unison, saying the same old lines. Somewhere on Green Island, a man walked over on the waves. TSK, TSK, TSK. The wood energy on this island is so rich. It's a good place to cultivate. Huh? There seems to be a gathering over there. How can I, spring male, miss such a good thing? Since they're all gathered together, I'll take this opportunity to become an island owner and build a prosperous, democratic, and civilized island nation. In the sky, Unlin put the ancient Moon Emperor's arm into his storage ring. He had used his divine inspection technique to appraise this piece of 10,000-year moon sinking wood, and the quality of the material used was several times higher than what he had expected. He was a little regretful. How good would it have been if he had directly killed the ancient Moon Emperor back then? They could have sold the extra materials. They were worth a lot of money. The next materials were the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon. These could be found in the ancient battlefield of the East Sea. He had seen that ancient battlefield in Xin Yin's images. This was where the failed Tao integration product of the Purple Star Realm, the ghostly god of six paths, led an army of 100,000 ghostly soldiers in battle against the dragon court of the eastern seas. Countless powerful beings perished in that earth-shattering battle, including 5 winged dragons of the Return to Void stage and the prodigy of the Vermilion Bird sect, Dongfang Ming. Presently, that battlefield had already transformed into a hopeless place of death. Spatial turbulence flowed through it and ghosts thrived there. Return to Void stage mighty figures wouldn't set foot there. Otherwise, they would cause the fragile heaven and earth there to crumble. Only some soul formation stage and spirit nurturing stage cultivators would venture there in search of opportunities. Xin Yin had found the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon in a certain space on that battlefield. I hope those cultivators who entered later on didn't discover that independent space, Unlin said uneasily. He wasn't worried that the ancient purple vine would wither and the true blood of the winged dragon would dry up. The ancient purple vine could survive by using the deathly aura of the battlefield as nourishment. Furthermore, the true blood of the winged dragon was immortal and existed within the bones of the winged dragons. What if the ancient purple vine turns into a spirit and runs away? Dabai suddenly voiced his concern. Unlin. Initially, he didn't believe that one could turn into a spirit after living for a long time. However, the moon-sinking tree's spirit made him speechless. Unlin didn't speak to Dabai, choosing to remain silent. After a long while, everyone saw a barren island, and thus they began to dive again. At the bottom of the deep sea, a white, ripple-like barrier enveloped a radius of over 500 kilometers. This was once the most prosperous place in the Dragon Court, and it once possessed the most powerful defensive spell formation. However, a sudden war had destroyed everything. Now, it had already become a land of death, isolated from the rest of the world. I see it. That's the entrance. Xiao Chou followed his memory and walked around the barrier. The searchlight finally caught sight of a white gate. Everyone was overjoyed and arrived before the white gate. The inside of the gate shimmered with light, giving off a sense of mystery and danger. Unlin's eyes turned snow-white as he peered into the gate. The passageway to the barrier is still clear, and it's also the day the barrier stabilizes. The heavens are truly on our side. Ancient battlefield, let's go! Chapter 278. This was a barren land where not even a blade of grass grew. At the top of the sky was a barrier that separated the sky from the water. It glowed like dusk. Gusts of wind capable of annihilating all living things blew out from the shattered space. An aura of death and evil rose from the ground from time to time. There were also vengeful spirits and ancient evil spirits that could never enter the cycle of reincarnation roaming this land. This was the Dragon Court's ancient battlefield, an abandoned piece of land. Under the broken white stone pillar, 5 well-dressed men stood together with worried expressions. Prince Chi-Wu, are we really not going to save Princess Yin? A middle-aged man asked nervously. The red-haired man standing in the middle of the five looked uncertain. Finally, he flicked his sleeves. Humph, do you think I don't want to save 13th Sister? But she mistakenly entered the myriad ghost realm. Can anyone come out after entering that place? We'd better think of a way to escape from here, then report this to Father. The man named Chi Wu was evidently the person with the highest status here. After he made his decision, the others didn't say anything. However, there was a look of pity on their faces. Report this to the Dragon King? By the time they escaped and sent reinforcements over, 13th Princess would probably have already become a member of the Myriad Ghost Realm. Chi Wu held a black ancient bead in his hand. This was an ancient artifact that he had collected while the barrier was stable. It wasn't like he had returned empty-handed. Come, let's go back. Chen Yuan, Huang Yuze, you two go lure away the bone ghost horde ahead. Hearing Chi Wu's instructions, Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze nodded with a smile, cursing 10,000 times in their hearts. The bone ghost horde was extremely terrifying, and there were even 2 soul formation stage black mist bone dragons among them. Only Prince Chi Wu would use spirit-nurturing final stage cloud dragons like them as bait. Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze stood up and summoned their flying swords. They looked at each other and saw the bitterness and helplessness in each other's eyes. Using the sacrificial mystic technique, even if they didn't die, they would probably be half dead. Go, heroes of the Dragon Court. Chi Wu saluted elegantly. Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze's lips twitched. They wanted to say that word again, but they held back in the end. This was probably the fate of the royal guards. For the safety of the royal family, they wouldn't hesitate even if they had to sacrifice their lives. The two of them soared into the air and flew forward. The dense horde of bone ghosts in front of them immediately became restless when they smelled the scent of living beings. Woo woo woo, wails and howls filled the entire area. Countless bone ghosts started pouncing towards Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze. Many of them were even floating in the air. Their speed was even faster than Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze's. Boom! 2 gigantic bone dragons with deep crimson pupils also began to move. With a monstrous aura, they pounced towards the 2 people in the sky. Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze immediately used their secret arts to burn their potential and continue to act as bait. We should also move out. Chi Wu saw that the group of bone ghosts had been lured away by Chen Yuan and Huang Yuze and began to fly into the sky on his sword. The other 2 nodded and followed behind Chi Wu on their swords, drawing 2 rainbow lights in the sky. Unlin, Dabai, and Xiao Chou passed through the enchantment barrier passageway. Their original plan was to let the 2 Gundams lead the way. However, as soon as the 2 Gundams stepped into the passageway, the enchantment barrier passageway began to shrink, as if it had been stimulated by something. This situation gave them a huge fright, and they immediately flew through the long enchantment barrier passageway with all their might. Finally, in the nick of time, they successfully entered the enchantment barrier. Phew! That was close. The enchantment barrier is still shrinking. We almost couldn't get in. Unlin looked at the white passageway that had shrunk into a slit with lingering fear. Could it be that the Dragon Tribe enchantment barrier is so resistant to Gundams 1 and 2 because they're from the Purple Star? Dabai speculated. Unlin nodded. He felt that this was a reasonable deduction. Xiao Chou was a little concerned. The enchantment barrier passageway is closed. How are we going to get out? There's no rush. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's collect the things we need first. Unlin was not a pessimistic person, and his fighting spirit was immediately ignited. At this moment, 3 powerful auras suddenly closed in on them. Be careful. Enemies are coming, and their auras don't seem to be weak. Xiao Chou looked ahead with a grave expression. Unlin and Dabai's bodies also tensed up. They didn't think that enemies would pounce on them as soon as they entered the enchantment barrier. Their aggro was drawn way too quickly. People from the Dragon Court? Unlin was a little confused when he saw that the person at the front was a handsome man. This man's crimson hair fluttered in the wind, and he had a pair of dragon horns on his head. The crimson-haired man was also slightly taken aback by the sight of Enlin and the others. However, as expected of a prince of the dragon court, he immediately came to his senses and joined his hands in a polite salute. "Fellow cultivators, I'm very happy to meet you here. I wish you a pleasant treasure hunt. I'll be taking my leave now. Don't celebrate too early." Enlin turned his gaze elsewhere, as if he was a little embarrassed. The crimson-haired man was a little dumbstruck by Enlin's reply. What the hell was that? Telling me not to celebrate too early? Was that a provocation? But I didn't do anything to him. Prince Chi Wu, the gate to the enchantment barrier has shrunk into a slit. A person beside the crimson-haired man yelled in panic as he looked at the enchantment barrier behind Enlin. Chi Wu's pupils contracted as he looked behind Enlin, and his heart skipped a beat. He finally understood the meaning behind Enlin's words. Holy F***ck, what was there to be happy about? The gate was gone. You, fellow cultivator, why has the gate shrunk? Chi Wu's composure was quite good. He held back a mouthful of blood and looked at Enlin and the others with a calm expression as he spoke in a calm voice. I don't know either, Enlin said with an innocent expression. There was a worried expression on his face. It shrunk as soon as I came in, and I'm still worried about how to get back. Chi Wu's lips twitched. **T, was he that unlucky? The gate shrunk as soon as he came in? This group of cultivators was very unfamiliar. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be here to screw him over. Even if they wanted to screw him over, how could their timing be so precise? Come to think of it, was he really that unlucky this time? Rumble. There was a huge commotion in the distance, as if an army was approaching. Prince, it's bone ghosts, they're coming, one of the male cultivators said with a trembling voice, his face pale. Bone ghosts? Enlin looked into the distance and saw a group of twisted beings with a tinge of white and black surging toward them. Most of their bodies were made up of bones and a black mist that seemed to have materialized over their bodies. There were two extremely huge bone dragons among them, and they were chewing something in their mouth. Their crimson eyes exuded a dangerous and violent aura. Chi Wu pulled out his flaming longsword, and the powerful aura of the soul formation initial stage erupted from his body. He appeared extremely majestic and intimidating. Fellow cultivator, these bone ghosts are wreaking havoc in the mystic realm. Now that the exit has been sealed, we won't be able to get out and will be constantly harassed by them. Let's join forces and defeat them, Chi Wu said in a loud voice. All right. Enlin nodded. Cross dark flaming slash. Chi Wu's longsword slashed out two flaming sword slashes, which swept toward the black mist bone dragon at the very front. Mountain quaking lightning fist. Azure wolf wind claw. Black flame fist. Enlin and the others all unleashed their techniques at the same time. The two people beside Chi Wu also pounced toward the black mist bone dragon. Glacial tornado. White cloud lightning sword. Boom boom boom. Countless extremely powerful immortal spells crashed toward the bone dragons and bone ghosts, instantly killing dozens of bone ghosts. Even the two soul formation stage bone dragons were forced into retreat. Charge! The two men beside Chi Wu clashed with the bone dragons. A few seconds later, the two men were sent flying with severe injuries. A strange feeling welled up in their hearts. Why was it so quiet behind them? They looked behind them to find that their boss, Chi Wu, had already flown 1.5 kilometers away. The man riding on the dog and the monkey had also turned into black dots in the distance as they fled in another direction. The two men seemed to have realized something, and a boundless chill welled up in their hearts. No! Following this cry of despair, they were greeted by the bloody maw of the black mist bone dragon. Chapter 279. Enlin looked behind him. The bone ghost horde shouldn't be able to catch up to them anymore. He heaved a sigh of relief. Phew! Only a crazy person would fight bone ghosts head-on with them.
I just didn't expect that prince called Chi Wu to betray his teammates even faster than us.
He's from the dragon tribe and he's called a prince. Could he be a prince from the dragon court? Woof. Dabai spoke slowly as he rode the wind. Lin nodded. He should be a prince from the dragon court. The Dragon King is so fertile that he has enough children to form 2 football teams. It's not surprising that he's a prince. It's none of our business anyway. Let's hurry and find out where that space is. They flew along the way, and whenever they encountered spatial rifts, they would avoid being injured by the chaotic gales. They also encountered some bone ghosts along the way, but they were all scattered, and Lin killed them easily. I remember that the entrance to this space is in the northwestern region of the ruins, beside a huge skull, Lin said slowly as he recalled the scene in his memory. Big Brotherin, should we go on a treasure hunting adventure here? Dabai's eyes lit up, and he was itching to give it a try. Lin stroked his chin and finally nodded. That can be done. But let's get the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon first. Their defeat at the Winter Dragon Tomb had hurt them for a long time, so it was time to fight for another opportunity. After flying for a while, the glow of the enchantment barrier dimmed for some reason. Rumble, muffled thunder sounded in the distance, like the angry roar of a wild beast. There's a lot of energy up ahead, everyone be careful, Lin warned as he drew his evil-slaying sword. Sure enough, a black skull-shaped evil spirit pounced toward them not long after. However, it didn't even get within 30 feet of Lin before it was sliced in half by his sword projection and disappeared into thin air. But this was only the beginning. Soon, 5 or 6 evil spirits pounced toward them with bared fangs and claws. Wind blades and black flames attacked the evil spirits at this moment, tearing their bodies apart. Speaking of which, the last time Shen-Yin came here, there weren't any evil spirits. Woof. Dabai complained when he saw the endless stream of evil spirits pouncing on them. It's been almost 10,000 years. It's normal to have some changes. Lin felt that there was nothing strange about it and said indifferently. At this moment the clown saw a certain plant in the distance and exclaimed, "Look, there's a stalk of grass that's emitting a faint blue glow next to the boulder. It's definitely not an ordinary item." Lin's eyes also lit up. Even from so far away, he could sense the energy fluctuations emanating from the grass. Without saying anything, Lin flew towards the blue grass and plucked it. Divine inspection technique. Serene opening grass, an item of extreme ease. It grows in places where the aura of death is strong. It uses the aura of death as its nourishment and uses demonic blood as its foundation. It takes 300 years to reach initial success and 3,000 years to reach major success. This is a major success Tier 1 immortal grass. Lin's eyes lit up and he was overwhelmed with emotions. A first-grade immortal herb. This time, he had really struck it rich. He immediately stowed the serene opening grass into his storage ring. Then, he turned his gaze to a nearby location. The sound of thunder seems to be coming from that direction. Could it be that a rare treasure has appeared? In order to avoid attracting attention, Lin, Dabai, and the clown advanced on the ground. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath when they saw the scene in front of them. Gasp! Lin was astonished. How many King evil spirits are there? The clown's lips twitched. At least 10,000. Before them was a vast expanse of crimson earth. Above the earth, a dense horde of evil spirits blotted out the sun and blotted out the sky. They floated around in the air, exuding a sinister aura that made one's flesh crawl. Big Brother, look over there. I think there's a blue ring of lightning. Woof. Dabai gestured with his eyes. Lin looked toward the northeast of the crimson earth. The evil spirits there were especially densely packed, almost like a wriggling black curtain with very few gaps between them. However, he could still vaguely make out a blue ring of lightning through the horde of evil spirits. Looks like there are people trapped there. Lin sighed with emotion. Then should we go and save them? the clown asked. And Lin pursed his lips and shook his head. They're not related to us, so why should we save them? Furthermore, this is such a dangerous place. We might even lose our lives. It's not worth it. He then seemed to have discovered something, and his eyes lit up. Look, the blue ring of light is 300 meters to the north. There seems to be something good there. The clown and Dabai looked over. Sure enough, they could vaguely make out a small tree with crimson flames burning from its body. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 will lead the way. Dabai clown, protect me. We'll take advantage of the fact that a large horde of evil spirits are attracted by the blue ring of light to uproot the small tree and run. Lin instructed excitedly. Dabai clown nodded with a speechless expression. He felt like their master was becoming more and more shameless. At the same time, within the blue ring of light, a beautiful young woman in a white dress gripped the lightning bead in her hand tightly as she maintained the protective spell formation. 2 other young women in green dresses stood beside the young woman in white dresses. Their faces were deathly pale, and their eyes were filled with despair. What do we do, Princess Inu? The supreme lightning spell formation can only last for 4 hours. It's almost time. One of the young women in green dresses spoke in a trembling voice. Once the spell formation ran out of energy, they would be greeted by the horde of evil spirit. That would be a fate even more terrifying than death. Perhaps they would all choose to commit suicide as soon as the spell formation broke. The young woman in white gritted her teeth and forced herself to remain calm. Don't worry, Brother Wang will definitely come to save us. Just hold on for a while longer, they might be here soon. He knew we were here a long time ago, but he still hasn't come to save us. He's clearly afraid of death and doesn't dare to come, the other young woman in green said with resentment. Inu shook her head, but she still didn't give up hope. Perhaps he's out there trying to think of a way? Right at this moment, an energy beam pierced through the blue ring of light. Boom! The scorching and powerful energy instantly reduced all evil spirits that came into contact with it to ashes. The 3 young women within the ring of light all shuddered as they looked toward the direction from which the energy beam had come. What? I told you, Brother Chi Wu will definitely come to save me. Inu saw a glimmer of hope for survival. She saw that her brother was willing to risk his life to save her. The emotions that she had repressed for a long time finally erupted, and tears streamed down her face. Boom! Another beam of energy shot through the air. Immediately afterward, 2 silver figures wielding light swords appeared before her. Behind them was a handsome man, a dog, and a monkey wearing a mask. The 3 young women were stunned once again upon seeing this. What's going on? The newcomers aren't Prince Chi Wu. Princess Inu's eyes glistened as several speculations surfaced in her mind. Could it be that these are helpers that Brother Chi Wu has found? Or could it be that these are a group of powerful beings who have coincidentally stepped into the battlefield and saw that they were trapped, so they decided to take the risk and come to their rescue? Speaking of which, they really are powerful. Even in the face of the horde of evil spirits, they were still able to carve out a path. Furthermore, the sword-wielding man in the middle is so handsome. Inu blushed as she watched the hero charging toward them. That figure was deeply engraved in her mind. However, it seems like they're heading in the wrong direction. Immediately afterward, the silver puppet, the male sword immortal, the dog, and the monkey brushed past the blue ring of light. They didn't even spare a glance at the 3 young women as they charged toward the north. Within the blue ring of light, the 3 young women's eyes widened in shock as they fell into a long silence. Princess Inu's body swayed slightly as her heart sank to the bottom. Her breathing became labored. Their goal is the fire-blood divine tree? The other 2 female servants nodded woodenly. The scene of the hero saving the damsel in distress did not occur. Those people's goal was the same as theirs. They were all after the fire-blood divine tree. What a roller coaster of emotions, in fact. Those people might have come here with the mentality of letting them attract the attention of a large group of evil spirits so that they could seize the opportunity to obtain the treasure. Princess Inu wasn't discouraged. This was their last hope of being rescued. She immediately shouted, she immediately yelled, "Fellow Taoists, please save us. We'll definitely reward you handsomely when we get out." Her voice was very loud, and the man several hundred meters away could definitely hear her. And Lin naturally heard her. However, with so many evil spirits around them, they were already in a difficult situation. How could they have the time to care about those trapped young women? He rushed toward the crimson flaming tree and forcefully pulled. Out. "It's so hard to pull." Princess Inu saw that those people didn't even turn to look at her after hearing her words. They only focused on pulling the fire blood divine tree as if they were pulling carrots. They didn't even give a simple response. What were they supposed to do? Princess Inu had never experienced such despair and indifference before. She was so angry that she was about to cry. Meanwhile, Unlin and the others were still pulling the tree. Chapter 280. Hurry up and give me a hand. This tree's roots are too deep. Unlin had already used all of his strength, but he was still unable to pull it out. He immediately called for help. Xiao Chou and Dabai also ran over and grabbed onto the fire blood divine tree. 1, 2, 3, rise! Unlin roared, and the dog and monkey both exerted their strength at the same time. Rumble! The ground began to tremor, and a series of lines began to appear on the crimson ground. Then, soil flew into the air as crimson roots began to rise from the ground. Unlin and the others were astonished. This tree's roots covered an area of over 1,000 feet in radius. No wonder it was so difficult to pull out. Time was of the essence, and Unlin didn't have time to inspect the fire blood divine tree. He hurriedly put the tree into his storage ring and began to retreat. At this moment, a female's voice sounded from the blue halo again. "Please save us. There's a treasure distribution map of this ancient battlefield here. If you save us, all the treasures will belong to you." Unlin's footsteps faltered as he looked toward the blue halo. He was greeted by the sight of the young girl's pitiful expression. There were still traces of tears on her fair and delicate face, and there was an ancient sheepskin scroll in her hand. For some reason, his heart softened. "All right, I'll take the risk to save you. Gundam 1, Gundam 2, unleash a gravitational field. Mark the 3 girls as allies." Boom! The purple halo began to expand, unleashing a terrifying pressure that forced all the surrounding evil spirits to the ground. "Run!" Unlin roared at the 3 girls within the halo. Inu reacted extremely quickly, and she immediately withdrew the halo before rushing toward Unlin with her 2 maids. The powerful gravitational field only lasted for a short period of time, and it began to disappear by the time Inu arrived in front of Unlin. All of the evil spirits in the sky now had a single target, and the pressure on Unlin and the others instantly doubled. Countless evil spirits surged toward Unlin like a tidal wave. They brandished their sharp black claws, bared their sharp fangs, and let out shrill ghost cries. They were aggressive and unstoppable, and their speed was even faster than the 3 girls. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 stood at the back and continuously fired cannons to fend off the waves of evil spirit. Unlin, Xiao Chou, and Dabai led the way, and the 3 spirit-nurturing stage flower vases ran with all their might in the middle. Inu was a spirit-nurturing final stage cultivator, so she was quite strong. However, maintaining the extreme lightning spell formation expended a large amount of vital energy from her. Thus, she was the slowest person in the group. The group of evil spirits wandered on the edge of the red earth, and did not continue to chase them. It was as if the different colors of the land on both sides were the dividing line between the 2 territories. Huff, huff, huff. It's really scary. My hands are sore from swinging the sword nonstop. Unlin twisted his arms and was drenched in sweat. The 2 Gundams had almost run out of energy due to the continuous high-intensity battle, so they returned to their storage rings to recharge. "Thank you for saving us." Inu led the 2 maids to Unlin and bowed in gratitude. Due to her intense exercise, a few strands of her jet-black hair were stuck to her rosy cheeks due to sweat, giving her a unique charm. "No need to thank me, it's what I should do." Unlin waved his hand, his expression natural and heroic. Then, he extended his hand. Looking at Unlin's slightly open palm, Yu grimaced. She finally erased the last bit of goodwill she had for this male. She humphed coldly and handed the treasure map to Unlin. Unlin didn't hesitate and immediately began to look through it. "Oh, there are 12 places with treasures? Is it accurate?" Yu rolled her eyes and humphed lightly. "This is a map that the high priest of my tribe deduced from the topography of the ancient battlefield, the flow and distribution of energy, as well as the distribution of living beings. Of course it's very accurate." She seemed to have thought of something, and her face flushed red. "It's just that sometimes the estimation of danger may not be enough. For example, we accidentally triggered the spell formation of the myriad ghost realm this time." Unlin nodded. "Then how many treasures have you taken from the map?" Hearing this, Yu felt as if her heart had been stabbed by a sword. Tears welled up in her eyes. "One of the beads was taken by Big Brother Chi Wu. This tree was originally mine, but it was taken by you." Unlin was extremely happy to hear this. His heart was filled with relief as he smiled. "Then there are still 10 left." "Not bad." Yu's chest tightened. She cursed in her heart, F***ck. "I'm already in such a miserable state, yet this man doesn't know how to take care of women?" "Humph, if it wasn't for the fact that Big Brother Chi Wu couldn't save me in time, he wouldn't have been bullied by you," Yu muttered softly. Even though her voice was very soft, Unlin still heard her. He smiled. "Big Brother Chi Wu, that crimson-haired man, right?" Yu faltered slightly upon hearing this, but she still nodded. "I saw him at the exit of the enchantment barrier. It looked like he wasn't planning to save you. Instead, he was planning to leave the enchantment barrier," Unlin said. The white-clothed girl's body swayed again. It was as if a certain speculation in her heart had just been confirmed. However, she still stubbornly insisted, "I don't believe you. You're lying. How could my big brother abandon me?" Unlin shrugged. "Do you think I'll be able to eat if I lie to you? Besides, if I hadn't encountered your big brother at the entrance of the enchantment barrier, how would I know that he has crimson-haired hair? Young lady, are you an idiot?" She had been dealt a blow by losing the treasures, being abandoned, and now, her intelligence. Tears finally flowed from Princess Yu's eyes after these 3 heavy blows. "What? You're all bad people. You're all bullying me, wah." The rims of her eyes were red, and she wept like a pear blossom in the rain. The 2 maids hurriedly tried to console her, but it was useless. She only cried even harder. She had never experienced such indifference before. She had been abandoned by her family, almost died, and she had lost all her treasures. Perhaps there was something wrong with her intelligence. The more she thought about it, the more she wanted to cry. Unlin didn't have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. She could cry all she wanted, and he would continue reading his book. He held the sheepskin scroll in his hand and looked at the locations where the treasures had appeared. The high priest of the dragon tribe had predicted that there was a high chance that the treasures would appear. In fact, the danger level was even marked out. The serene understanding grass that he had obtained previously was of exceptional quality, but it didn't appear on the scroll. It was clear that the high priest wasn't completely foolproof. Every 1,000 years, the dragon tribe would send people here to search for the treasures that naturally formed in this place. This was both a type of training and a type of opportunity. Unlin didn't think that he would be the one to pick up this once in a 1,000 years opportunity. Just thinking about it made him feel a little happy. As for Prince Chi Wu, there was only one copy of the sheepskin scroll. Even if he knew the locations of the treasures, with his cowardly personality, he wouldn't dare to take the risk without a few cannon fodder accompanying him. Thus, Unlin wasn't afraid that he would beat them to it. Instead, He planned to obtain the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon first before searching for the other treasures. Let's go. And Lin stood up. After resting for a while, everyone had already recovered their blood essence. Which treasure are we going to find first? Inu asked curiously. And Lin glanced at her. This little princess who had just cried decided to stay by his side after hearing that the exit of the barrier was temporarily closed. Although Enlin knew that he was very safe, it wasn't a good idea to bring along a burden. If you unleash your full strength, do you have the strength of a soul formation stage cultivator? Enlin suddenly asked. Inu faltered slightly before replying seriously, about only half-step soul formation stage. Then, she saw the disdainful expression on Enlin's face. She was momentarily at a loss for words. Spirit nurturing final stage, being able to unleash the strength of a half-step soul formation stage cultivator is already very impressive, okay? That's right. Enlin nodded. I've slain quite a few soul formation stage cultivators when I was only of spirit nurturing initial stage. Now that I'm of spirit nurturing final stage, soul formation intermediate stage cultivators probably won't even be able to withstand one strike from my sword. Inu was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Enlin. Looking at Enlin's disdainful expression as well as the fact that he didn't seem to be lying, she finally realized that not only was there a problem with her intelligence, but she was also a weakling. The two maids realized the reason behind Enlin's question and immediately replied, "We're willing to sacrifice our lives for Master at critical moments." Enlin nodded. These two maids of spirit nurturing intermediate stage were quite intelligent. Inu was of half-step soul formation stage, so she wasn't a burden anymore. Just like that, he agreed to let Inu tag along. Let's go find the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon first. Chapter 281. Everyone set off once again, flying toward the northwest. Evil spirits still appeared from time to time, and they were becoming more and more powerful. Previously, evil spirits were usually of the Tao body stage, but now they could occasionally see evil spirits of the spirit nurturing stage. Swoosh! A pitch-black and profound sword light that was as fast as lightning instantly tore an 8-armed evil spirit into two halves. Enlin was already very powerful now. Even evil spirits of the spirit-nurturing stage couldn't withstand a single strike from him. Inu truly believed Enlin now. However, she didn't understand. They were both of the spirit-nurturing final stage, so why was there such a huge disparity between them? Moreover, she was a prodigy who possessed the direct bloodline of the dragon tribe. Oh wait, prodigy couldn't be used to describe herself now. Inu pinched her small, delicate face, a look of dejection on her face. Big brother, and look, that giant skull in front of us should be it. Xiao Chao's eyes burned like torches as he pointed ahead. There was a black skull of 50 to 60 feet in size there. This skull was similar to a human skull. From the memory, it seemed to be the skull of a general of the Purple Star Ghost Army. Enlin's eyes lit up slightly. He landed beside the skull and walked 49 steps to the west before stomping forcefully on the ground. Boom! The ground trembled, and a white spatial gate appeared before everyone. Inu looked at Enlin in disbelief. "You've been here before?" Enlin didn't reply and walked through the gate first. Inu's voice faltered, and she followed behind him angrily. The space around them warped, and a space rich in vital energy appeared before them. A giant skeleton of several thousand feet in length lay silently on the ground. Grass and flowers grew all around it. The combination of overflowing vitality and desolation gave off a unique sense of tranquility and beauty. This is the skeleton of a winged dragon? Inu's beautiful eyes widened, and her voice trembled slightly. She could no longer maintain her composure. Every winged dragon had an extremely high status in the dragon tribe, and this winged dragon was clearly a top-tier powerful being that had fallen in the ancient battlefield. Enlin walked to the side of the skeleton's head and squatted down. After taking a glance at it, A look of joy appeared on his face. There were ancient vines that glowed with purple light at the bottom of the dragon's head. This was the ancient purple vine he was looking for. The ancient purple vine absorbed Dragon's chi and usually grew at the bottom of Dragon's head. He didn't expect that after 10,000 years, the number of ancient purple vines would increase by several times. Lin skillfully removed all of the ancient vines and placed them into his storage ring. After that, he went to the winged dragon's spine and used his chi to open a small hole. He extracted 1/2 kilogram of blood with a hint of gold in it. This winged dragon true blood only existed within the spine, and because of its unfortunate nature, it could still exist even after tens of thousands of years. You are tarnishing the ancestors. When Inu saw that Lin didn't even spare the true blood in Long's body, she was so angry that she stomped her feet. Lin rolled his eyes at the silver fish. Don't worry, I've used my vital energy to check. There's still 1.5 kilograms of true blood in there. As the most valuable part of the dragon race, true blood of winged dragons was extremely precious. As the heavenly dragon maiden of the dragon tribe at the time, Shen Yin had only taken 1/2 kilogram of true blood out of respect for her ancestors. After hearing Inu's words, Lin thought about it for a moment and felt that this was indeed not the right thing to do. He walked over to the spine and extracted 1/2 kilogram of true blood. Shen Yin was a member of the dragon tribe, so she was naturally respectful. But I'm a human, so why should I be so respectful to a dragon? 1 kilogram of true blood, 1 kilogram as backup. Inu's vision darkened as she watched Lin extract another kilogram of true blood. Her chest rose and fell violently, clearly having been provoked again. If these bones were to fall into the hands of other tribes, I guarantee that not a single bone would be left. I'm already very respectful to your ancestors, do you understand? Lin lectured Inu with a serious expression. Inu's face flushed red, and she was so angry that she couldn't utter a single word. Everyone walked around the space and collected a few spirit rank herbs. There was nothing else of value, so they left the space. We've collected the ancient purple vine and true blood of winged dragons. It's time to look for the treasures in the sheepskin scroll. Lin was completely relaxed as he spread open the sheepskin scroll. Thus, everyone began to plunder from the nearest location. They entered the blood pool and found the third-rank immortal fruit, dark blood fruit. They trampled over the dead demon realm and found the dead realm flower. They went to the black stone forest and found the Vajra soul. After that, they obtained the ethereal spirit bone, demon blood ball, ice holy lotus, and ghost crystal armor. Out of the 9 locations where treasures were predicted to appear, 7 of them had appeared, while 2 of them had nothing. Lin cursed the so-called high priest many times over. Seeing Lin's dissatisfied expression as he collected the treasures, Inu felt a little short of breath again. Next up was the last treasure marked on the sheepskin scroll. First rank immortal material, reincarnation ginseng. This thing was marked as the most dangerous treasure, so Lin purposely left it for last. The reincarnation ginseng was located in a relatively central area of the ancient battlefield. The space there was extremely unstable, and the ground was also severely cracked. Countless bottomless ravines covered the ground, as if they were giant abyssal mouths that could swallow all living beings. Reincarnation ginseng can only grow this first-rank immortal material through the cycle of life and death. In that war 10,000 years ago, heaven and earth collapsed, and the dragon court was almost overturned. The number of powerful beings that died here exceeded millions. This is one of the conditions for the reincarnation ginseng to grow, death. Then where does the other condition for the reincarnation ginseng to grow, life, manifest itself? Lin sat on Dabai's back and held the sheepskin scroll as he asked curiously. Seeing that even Lin didn't understand, Inu immediately interjected. You don't understand this, do you? Seeing that Lin was looking at her with an inquisitive gaze, she instantly felt like she wasn't that stupid after all. She felt a little smug in her heart as she slowly said, "Life comes from the extremity of death, but what is born is resentment, hatred, and despair from not being able to enter the cycle of reincarnation. These negative emotions can also give birth to a type of life." And Lin blinked. "You're saying those evil ghosts and bone ghosts are a manifestation of life?" Inu nodded. "They can actually be considered living beings, but they're not recognized as living beings. They were abandoned by the heavenly Tao when they were alive, so they can't enter the cycle of reincarnation after death. Hence, their resentment is boundless, and they exist in this world in another quantum form." Quantum form. And Lin's lips twitched. He seemed to have heard a strange term. You don't understand the concept of quantum form?" The white-clothed young woman's eyes lit up, and she seemed to have a certain sense of superiority. "Let me tell you, this involves the development of microscopic particles, space-time, and the theory of cause and effect. If you don't understand, I can give you a book on quantum theory when I return to the Dragon Palace. I'll be the teacher, and you'll be my student." Inu was in high spirits as if she had been injected with a stimulant. She talked incessantly to Enlin, as if she had successfully made a comeback from a completely useless situation. She was overjoyed. Enlin was also astonished. "The Dragon Palace has started researching this kind of thing? There are even books?" He had to admit, he really wanted to go to the Dragon Palace to see what those books were about. The group flew for a while longer, and they arrived at a place where black mist lingered. "We're here, it's nearby," Enlin said as he gazed at the sheepskin scroll. At this moment, another evil ghost pounced over. Then, it was smashed into pieces by Xiao Chao's staff. Here, evil ghosts and bone ghosts that were pure resentment roamed the surroundings. Their auras were all extremely powerful, and there were even quite a few whose strength rivaled that of spirit-nurturing stage cultivators. Wisps of black mist floated up from the deep ravines on the ground. "Big Brotherin, look over there, there's a black ball." Xiao Cho spoke again. Sure enough, there was a black ball standing silently 1,000 meters away. "Let's go and have a look." And Lin flew toward the black ball, his evil-slaying sword tightly in his hand. The group arrived in front of the black ball and discovered that it was perfectly round. Its surface was as smooth as a mirror, and it was about 30 feet in diameter. Aside from this, there were no other special characteristics. Could the reincarnation ginseng be inside this ball? And Lin asked. Inu also didn't know. She had never seen the reincarnation ginseng before. "How about we smash it open and see?" This was a good suggestion. And Lin immediately got to work. He sent out Gundam 1 and Gundam 2, and they prepared to cut it open with precision. Right at this moment, the ball seemed to have been stimulated, and it cracked open on its own. Chapter 282. Kacha. The black ball cracked very evenly, and its smooth surface was instantly filled with cracks. The outer shell of the ball completely shattered, and everyone was dumbstruck by what they saw inside. A golden ginseng that was about half the size of a grown man with a flower on its head fell to the ground with a plop, and it opened its eyes in a daze. "This is..." And Lin took a deep breath. "Reincarnation ginseng?" Everyone else was also in disbelief. Wasn't this a first-grade immortal ingredient? Could it be that this thing could become a spirit? The golden ginseng stood up and looked ahead with its round eyes. "Papa!" It clattered as it hugged the leg of a Gundam. "A certain Gundam. Mama!" It ran over and hugged onto the leg of another Gundam. "A certain Gundam." And Lin drew a sharp intake of breath upon seeing this. "It can talk?" Inu's lips twitched. "Is that the point? The point should be why it can run as soon as it's born. Doesn't that save on a crib?" Dabai's face convulsed, and he yelled, "All of you are focusing on toxic things. Speaking of which, shouldn't the point be why this ginseng can distinguish between Gundam 1 and Gundam 2, and which is the male and which is the female?" Woof. Xiao Cho looked up at the sky. "You guys take your time." Right at this moment, the earth suddenly began to tremor. Immediately afterward, tens of thousands of ghosts began to wail. Countless sinister ghosts wandering around the area all turned their eyes upon Enlin and the others. Hordes of bone ghosts crawled up or flew out of the cracks like a swarm of locusts, and their pitch-black eyes stared coldly at everyone. I have a bad feeling. Enlin's heart sank as he looked around. What? The golden ginseng began to cry. Nai. I want to eat Nai. It hugged onto the leg of a Gundam as it spoke. Mama, I want to eat Nai. Gundam, everyone. Right at this moment the evil ghosts and bone ghosts in the surroundings seemed to have received some kind of stimulation. With a monstrous aura, they charged toward Enlin and the others. There were even 3 soul formation stage bone mist dragons among them. Run! Enlin roared as he grabbed the ginseng and leaped onto his brick. Without hesitation, everyone began to flee. When the ghost saw Enlin and the others escaping, it chased after them in a frenzy. Enlin tried to put the golden ginseng into his storage ring, and to his surprise, he actually succeeded. Could it be that this ginseng had not become a spirit? Spatial rings were unable to contain intelligent lifeforms, but he didn't expect the golden ginseng to be able to be stored in a spatial ring. Didn't this mean that it wasn't an intelligent lifeform? Then how could it talk? Still thinking of eating Nanai, hiss, suddenly, a large group of wraiths came charging at him. Enlin didn't have time to think too much and entered battle mode. All of the ghosts and monsters around him seemed to have been provoked by something, and they all pounced toward Enlin in a frenzy. They showed no signs of stopping as they converged from all directions, accumulating more and more. If this continued, who knew what kind of army of wraiths they would form in the future? Where do we run to now? Inu yelled in a panicked voice. More and more wraiths appeared behind them, causing her hair to stand on end. If they were to slow down in their escape, they would be dead for sure if they caught up to them. Run to the exit. Let's see if the spatial passageway has opened. Enlin had already collected most of the treasures, and the golden ginseng was most likely the reincarnation ginseng, so there was no point in staying here. Within the spatial passageway, the white crack had already returned to its original size. A man with long crimson hair looked at the passageway in the distance with a scorching light in his eyes. Now, it was time to escape from this godforsaken place. However, the group of bone ghosts at the outskirts of the spatial passageway was still very troublesome. With his power alone, without any cannon fodder to act as bait, there was a chance that his life would be in danger if he broke through the bone ghost's defensive line. Rumble, What's that sound? Chi Wu looked behind him to find that the sky in the distance seemed to have darkened. He took a closer look. Holy sh*t. Chi Wu pissed himself, and his legs began to tremble. These are all king wraiths and bone ghosts. How many were there? 30,000? 50,000? Or 100,000? Chi Wu's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the approaching horde of wraiths. What were they doing here? They couldn't be here to kill him, right? He was clearly just a bystander. How much hatred did they have for so many wraiths to be mobilized? Something's not right. Prince Chi Wu's eyes narrowed. There were people over there. Immediately afterward, he saw those familiar faces. The human, the dog, and the monkey. It's them? Prince Chi Wu's expression turned cold. He still remembered that Enlin had sold him out. Although he had sold out his teammates, they were his guards. He could sell them out, but why would these people sell him out? He was very sad. Then, his heart skipped a beat because he saw 3 familiar figures. 13th sister. She's still alive? That's great. I was just fretting over how to explain this matter to father. Now I don't even have to think about it. Did those people save her? Prince Chi Wu didn't think that the 13th princess could escape from the myriad ghost realm on her own. Someone must have helped her. However, in doing so, his attitude toward Enlin improved a little. He knew that this was their last chance to escape from this barrier. The horde of wraiths behind them was no laughing matter. Seeing that everyone was about to arrive, he immediately transformed into a streak of crimson light and rushed out. 13th sister, it's great that you're all right. Prince Chi Wu's eyes were red as he flew toward Princess Inu. Inu was startled when she saw him. Then, she turned her face away and sneered, "You still have the face to appear before me?" Prince Chi Wu's face was full of shame. His eyes were red, and tears were about to overflow. "It's my fault. Big brother is useless. It's my fault for not being able to save you from the myriad ghost realm. But it's great that you're safe." Inu's expression remained cold, and she didn't say anything. Lin was extremely shocked when he saw this. Prince Chi Wu's expression was so sincere. If he went to Earth, he would definitely be nominated for the Best Actor Oscar. He would definitely be much better than the Demon King of Wisdom. At this moment, Chi Wu turned to look at Lin and said excitedly, "Fellow cultivator, thank you very much for saving my sister. From now on, you will forever be my friend. You will forever be a friend of the Dragon Court." Seeing Chi Wu's passionate expression, Lin waved his hand and said honestly, "No need to thank me. It's what I should do. I'm paid to do it." "Paid to do it?" Chi Wu blinked. "I've given the sheepskin treasure map to fellow cultivator Lin," Inu said coldly. Boom! This news was like a bolt from the blue, striking Scarlet Crow until it was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Lin calmly handed the sheepskin scroll to Chi Wu. "This map isn't very accurate. Only 8 out of 10 places have treasures. Here, I'll return the map to you." Chi Wu gripped the map and his lips twitched. "Return it to me? You've already taken all the treasures. What's the use of giving me the map?" Chi Wu smiled. His smile was even uglier than crying. He had wanted to return to the Dragon Court to find some helpers and come to the ancient battleground again. Now there's nothing left. Boom! Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 used their photovoltaic cannons and blasted the 2 black mist bone dragons guarding the entrance of the enchantment barrier into the air. Facing the bone ghosts in front of them, everyone began to fight with all their might. They forcefully carved out a path and charged out. Chapter 283. Lin and the others rushed out of the enchantment barrier and stared at the enchantment barrier passageway behind them with lingering fear. Thankfully, evil spirits couldn't pass through this evil spirit passageway. They all breathed a sigh of relief. "Mr. Lin, would you be interested in coming to the Dragon Court for a chat?" Chi Wu calmed himself down and invited Lin with a sincere expression. "Thank you for your kind offer, Mr. Chi Wu. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll come visit another day." Lin wasn't just being polite. He really did have to go to the Dragon Court soon. Seeing Lin's expression, Inu wanted to say something but stopped herself. This man is a human cultivator, so he'll probably return to the Kingdom of the 9 States after finishing his business. There are so many people in the world, so they might never see each other again. Just as a melancholy welled up in her heart, she suddenly thought of a reason, and her eyes lit up. "Lin, didn't you say you wanted to read a book on quantum theory? Come to the Dragon Court, I'll teach you." Lin was startled. He had almost forgotten about this. "All right, I'll come to the Dragon Court in half a month at most after I finish my business," he said with a smile. Inu breathed a sigh of relief in her heart and smiled brightly. "All right, I'll wait for you." Chi Wu looked at Lin, then at Inu, and furrowed his brows slightly. He was just being polite. Could it be that this brat was really going to come to the Dragon Court? In the end, the two of them bade farewell. Lin continued on his journey to collect materials. They obtained the mystic ice crystal on the frozen sky island. They found the desolate flame bone on the soaring snake volcano in the land of the 100 tribes. Everything went very smoothly. These materials were usually grown in a special environment. As long as the environment didn't change much, they would be able to grow again after 10,000 years after being nourished by the energy of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and moon. The last herb was called the divine white herb. It grew on a small island shrouded in white mist. "That place feels quite dangerous." There's even a Saint Fiend there. That's a supreme expert that rules over a part of the Sea Fiend territory. Even Shen-Yin, who was at the half-step return to Void stage, almost died there. In the end, she had to use countless mystic techniques and formation discs to seal the holy demon on the island. Unlin's expression was grave as he looked at the last ingredient on the list. That place was actually in the 7 devil domains. It was a small island that emitted a purple light. It's fine. The holy demon has been sealed, and there has been no movement for nearly 10,000 years. Even if that island is a bit special, even if the 7 devilish domains Emperor-level sea demons gather together, we can still escape even if we can't beat them, woof. Dubai wasn't worried at all. Strictly speaking, with their current strength, they were no longer afraid of soul formation stage cultivators. Even if he couldn't defeat them, he could at least protect himself. Alright then, let's set off and go to the venerated Devil Island. Unlin raised his head and looked towards the distant sea, and he finally made a decision. The venerated Devil Island was located within the white mist of the 7 devil domains. It was extremely mysterious, and normal people didn't even know of its existence. They had only found out about the existence of this island from the images that Shen-Yin had shown them. Even so, the coordinates that they knew were very vague, and they would have to slowly search for the exact location. Unlin and the others went to a coastal city in the Pearl Kingdom and bought a 3 divine compass. This compass was specially bought to prevent them from getting lost in the white mist. It could ignore the interference of magnetic fields and other types of energy, and it could accurately determine direction. Just as everyone was about to set off, a huge black shadow suddenly flew over from the distance. Why does this aura feel a little familiar? Unlin furrowed his brows. When we were in Bolon City, those demonic emperors also had this aura. Xiao Cho spoke slowly with a cold expression. Soon, everyone could clearly see the creature in the distance. It was a huge flaming dragon that was several hundred feet in length. This huge dragon had 3 pairs of wings on its back, and it flew extremely quickly. It had only just flown over the city wall when a purple bead in front of it suddenly burst forth with a dazzling light. Boom! An extremely terrifying suction force was released from the bead. Be it the Pearl soldiers or the residents on the streets, they were all attracted by a powerful suction force and flew towards the purple bead. Instantly, the Pearl people in the city fell into a state of panic. What's going on? No, I can't control my body. Save me. Let go of me. Don't grab me. Countless Pearl people flew into the sky and wailed for help in horror. Everything happened far too quickly. It was so fast that some of the Pearl people didn't even have a chance to react before they were sucked into the sky. After the flaming dragon tore through the city wall, it immediately used a spell technique to suck all the Pearl people into a storage bead. How weak! The other 4 brothers are also unlucky. Otherwise, they could easily take down 100 cities like this. The flaming dragon circled in the sky with a cold sneer on its face. In just a few short seconds, it had already collected over 1,000 Pearl people. Do you think you're that lucky? A male voice suddenly traveled over from the distance. The flaming dragon looked up to see a male flying toward it menacingly. A human cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage dares to stand up for us? Isn't he afraid of death? The flaming demonic dragon opened its mouth, and majestic red flames gushed out from its mouth. The flames blotted out the sky and swept toward Unlin, leaving a red trail of destruction in the air. The crimson flames engulfed the male, but the demonic dragon didn't see them being reduced to ashes. A huge black brick smashed through the flames, and the sword-wielding male reappeared not far away. His speed didn't slow down at all. The demonic dragon's pupils contracted when it saw the sword-wielding male, the huge dog, and the monkey. It recalled the human cultivator that the demonic butterfly had mentioned. Didn't he have a king dog and a monkey with him? Run! The demonic dragon immediately withdrew the storage bead without hesitation. A flaming tornado erupted from its 3 pairs of wings, and it turned to flee. Whoosh! The demonic dragon tore through the air like a flaming meteor and fled toward the sea in the distance. Its cultivation base was only at the soul formation intermediate stage, so it wasn't confident enough to fight the freak that the demonic butterfly had described. However, it was very confident in its speed of escape. As long as I spread my wings, all opponents below the return to void stage can only look at my butt. The effects of the storage bead disappeared, and the thousands of pearl creatures in the air lost their suction force and began to plummet toward the ground. The pearls screamed again. If this went on, it would be a tragedy of all the pearls falling on a jade plate. Big Brotherin, we'll take care of these pearls. Dubai unleashed a gust of wind that enveloped the entire heaven and earth, giving the pearls a boost. Xiao Chou also unleashed his cloud riding technique to catch the pearls one by one. Unlin was momentarily dazed by the demonic dragon's decision to flee, but he didn't slow down. Instead, he increased his speed, and he summoned the 2 Gundams as well. Wings of Wind. 6th technique, Wind Sword. Unlin unleashed twofold acceleration, and his speed increased explosively. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 weren't as fast as the flaming demonic dragon in the distance, but they instantly opened all of their cannons and unleashed all of their attacks to impede the demonic dragon's escape. Spirit Snake homing missiles, photovoltaic cannons, particle chains, Gundam 1 and Gundam 2's attacks descended upon the demonic dragon. The flaming demonic dragon didn't dare to underestimate them, and it could only evade in the air. Boom boom boom! A series of dazzling fireworks exploded in the sky. The demonic dragon was a little disheveled as it charged out of the flames. Its speed had been delayed for a moment, but it still managed to put some distance between itself and the Gundams. Phew! Thank God I'm thick-skinned. F***ck, what I was afraid of really came true. The road to resurrecting the Holy One is truly a bumpy one. Just as the demonic dragon thought that it was going to escape, a cold sensation ran through its neck as a black sword projection pierced through its entire body. Pwah! The demonic dragon was severely wounded, and it turned to look at the man standing behind it in shock and horror. The man's eyes were snowy white, and he pulled out his black evil-slaying sword before stabbing it a dozen or so times into its back. Each strike was aimed at preventing it from circulating its vital energy. The demonic dragon's vital energy instantly stopped circulating, and even its domain was shattered as its body plummeted toward the ground. It stared at the man with an expression of shock and horror. There was only one thought in its mind. I'm unrivaled in speed, but a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator has caught up to me? Chapter 284. Boom! The flaming dragon's meridian was punctured, and it fell heavily to the ground, creating a huge crater. The Holy One you mentioned, are you referring to the Holy Demon? Unlin stood on the demonic dragon's neck and pointed his evil-slaying sword at the dragon's head. The demonic dragon humphed coldly. Don't try to get any information out of me. Is that so? Then die. Unlin's evil-slaying sword glowed with a black light. Don't kill me. I'll tell you. The Holy One is indeed the Holy Demon of Venerate Demon Island. The demonic dragon shrank back, clearly sensing the killing intent behind it. Why was it the fastest flying beast among all the beast emperors? That was because it could only survive by running away quickly. It was the fastest flying beast because it was the most afraid of death. So capturing the Pearl People is to revive the Holy Demon? Then you know where Venerate Demon Island is, right? Sign a slave contract with me and take me there. Unlin spoke again. The demonic dragon remained silent. Unlin's longsword glowed with a black light again. Is that your answer? Goodbye. Ah. Don't kill me. Fine, fine, I agree to sign a slave contract. The flaming dragon shrank back and gritted its teeth in humiliation. Unlin nodded and released a drop of blood essence from his finger. He made a series of hand seals and carved a spell formation. Finally, the blood essence dripped onto the demonic dragon's head. Don't refuse. A slave contract was different from a beast pet contract. Once a slave contract was signed, as the master, Unlin could force the slave to do anything, and the slave couldn't even think of disobeying the master. Otherwise, the master could use the power of the contract to kill the slave. This was a very unfair contract, but the flaming dragon had no choice but to agree to it in order to survive. Unlin finally jumped down with a satisfied expression and patted the demonic dragon's head. Follow me, and you'll have meat to eat, demonic dragon. At this moment, Dabai and Xiao Chou had also arrived, and they were both extremely shocked to see that Big Brother and had already signed a slave contract with the demonic dragon. A soul formation intermediate stage slave was extremely eye-catching. Xiaolong, you must call me Brother Bai. Woof. Dabai replied calmly. The corners of the demonic dragon's mouth twitched. Damn it, a dragon who had fallen from grace was being bullied by a dog. Unlin didn't say too much nonsense. He let the demonic dragon release the pearl people inside the containment pearl, and after confiscating the containment pearl, he immediately let the demonic dragon lead the way to Venerable Demon Island. In a misty sea region, the myriad wave demon Emperor Butterfly Demon and the white fur demon bear stood in the center of an island, waiting for the flaming demon dragon to return. Do you think the six-winged dragon emperor will succeed? The white demonic bear asked uneasily. Humph. You're an emperor-level sea monster, but you can't even capture 10,000 pearl people. That's just too embarrassing. The butterfly monster said coldly. The white demon bear scratched its head. But you couldn't even capture 5 demon thearchs previously, Yao Dai. Isn't that just bad luck? Then do you think the six-winged dragon emperor will also have bad luck? The white demon bear was still worried. Yao Dai. Shut your stinky mouth. Then, the two of them simultaneously sensed an undisguised familiar aura. Yao Dai smiled. Look, isn't the six-winged dragon emperor back safe and sound? The white demon bear raised its head. Sure enough, it saw a huge figure breaking through the white mist. It was just about to greet it when its entire body froze in place. It looked at the figure on the dragon's back. There seems to be someone else on the dragon's back? Huh. Yao Dai raised its head. Then, it sucked in a breath of cold air. F***CK. Why are they here? The white demon bear was dumbfounded. What did you say? Who are they? It turned to look at the butterfly monster. However, it discovered a figure fleeing into the distance. The white demon bear. F***CK. Wait for me. The two emperor-level sea monsters began to flee one after the other. However, how could they be faster than the six-winged dragon emperor? They were quickly caught up. Dragon Emperor, how dare you side with the enemy and go against the will of the great sage? Yao Dai was both shocked and enraged. Shameless. The white demon bear also cursed. However, they were greeted by an extremely scorching flame breath. Boom. The crimson flames surged toward the white demon bear. The white demon bear swatted with its paw. A vast power instantly tore the flames apart. However, this pause was enough for the two silver Gundams to reach the white demon bear and surround it. The six-winged dragon emperor didn't stop. It continued to pounce toward Yao Dai. When it was close enough, the six-winged dragon emperor, the clown, and Dabai attacked it at the same time. While they were surrounding him, Unlin took advantage of the opportunity to use the Shadow Tiger technique of the six techniques to slice the butterfly monster in half. The six-winged dragon emperor's eyes widened when it saw Unlin's sword technique. It finally came to its senses. As expected of a freak that even the butterfly monster was afraid of. However, no matter how afraid it was, it still couldn't escape from this freak's poisonous claws. When everyone returned, they saw the white demon bear again. At this moment, the white demon bear was already cooked. However, it didn't look very delicious. Unlin and the others didn't eat it. Instead, they put away the two Gundams and began to head toward the center of Venerate Demon Island. The 10 spirits sacrificial formation that covered the entire island was still in operation. On this land that was filled with filth and blood, 3 white herbs emitted a holy light and purified the air around them. This is the divine white herb? I didn't expect there to be 3 of them. Did you guys plant them? And Lin was pleasantly surprised. The demonic dragon grimaced. This is a medium to summon the great sage. We only managed to get these 3 in 3,000 years. Oh, then I'll kindly accept them. And Lin nodded very naturally. Then, he plucked them off without hesitation and put them into his storage ring. The demonic dragon's heart sank again. They were clearly giving these to the great sage. They weren't giving them to you. Why the hell are you smiling and accepting them? Is there anything else good? And Lin felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders after he finished collecting the materials. However, he still continued to ask with interest. The demonic dragon shook its head. There's nothing else. This land is actually not suitable for growing spiritual objects. And Lin nodded. He looked at the blood that was still flowing endlessly on the ground and sighed. It's just a pity for the 90,000 living beings. They were forcefully sucked dry by you guys. The demonic dragon suddenly felt a chill envelop it. It hurriedly lowered its head and remained silent. Ding dong! The system's voice suddenly sounded in Lin's mind. Lin's heart trembled. There's finally a response from the system. He immediately opened up the system. Detected that host has arrived at Venerate Demon Island. Now assigning the following special mission. Kill the holy demon and destroy its heart. Mission success. Receive the 2nd stage of the lightning essence cultivation method. Mission failure. Be struck by lightning for 2 hours. Note: this mission cannot be rejected.